This my real body? Cloud Dance thinks away. Isn't Chaos Temple in oneself of no sea? Why can you enter the third level? What is the function of the third layer? At this time, the long-lost voice of Black Pride suddenly came to mind. Dumen, subordinate to Duanjia, is the most important part of Duanjia. It is suitable for hiding, and searching for people and objects. Black Proud voice light of spread, although the tone as usual, but it seems that more excited. Dumen, one more Dumen is equivalent to more students. And from the current situation of Cloud Dance, I'm afraid that this Dumen will be able to hide with his real body. Is this a great skill? If you meet a strong opponent in the future, as long as you can hide, who can catch yourself? Invisible hidden form? Cloud Dance alung, some surprised said, followed by the rapid rotation of the mind. And then contact their real body, think, immediately understand the beauty of this thing. So no matter who I fight with in the future, I will be invincible first? I can't say that. Hyo said. Although your strength has made great progress, it's still a little worse than some real experts, such as the Shangwenshong of the Beast Gate. If you fight against each other, whether this Dumen can be effective or not is a matter of Tu Yunwu's size. It's still a matter of strength. His current strength should match Shangguanli's, but if he meets Shangwenshong, Cloud Dance's eyes twinkle, thinking of those people and their own plans. I can't help but take a deep breath. One day, she will stand on the top of the top and destroy all the people in the Beast Gate. Well, it's time to get out. Hyo said. I also want to know if this Dumen can bring your friends in to see the third level array and rune. I don't think it's just for one person. As soon as Hyo's words were finished, Yunwu's eyes brightened. Yes, ordinary stealth items can only make one person invisible, but now the third floor of Chaos Palace is so large, maybe it can really take other people to be invisible together? So think, Cloud Dance can't wait for the body of Flash, instantly appeared on the square. Would Xiaoming several people believe the words of Small 9? No Cloud Dance, nothing happened. Has been sitting in place waiting for it. Sure enough, it wasn't long before the place where Yunwu had just disappeared was shining again. And the figure of Yunwu appeared in front of everyone again. It was just this time, but it was no longer a posture of continuing to practice. It was as if I had just come out of another space. I stood in front of the crowd with my hands on my back, with a pair of bright eyes and a faint smile on the corner of my mouth. Everyone was stunned, and some of them couldn't react. Master, congratulations on entering the Wuling realm, and successfully receiving the inheritance. The Small 9 takes the lead to react, to come over, leak out the charm smile of the sign, walk forward to say to Cloud Dance. Cloud Dance, surprised to see her one eye, seemed to be didn't expect Small 9 will call oneself for Lord Sun General, clear before all, don't want to open mouth. But Yunwu didn't care much. Some words are better to talk in private. Little Dance. You made it. Mu Xiaoming then responded. After listening to their conversation, he rushed forward excitedly and grasped Yunwu's shoulder. Did you succeed in inheriting this tomb? Is everything here ours? Can I have 2 of those herbs? Have you really entered the realm of Wuling? So fast. Can you compare with me again, and let me see the difference between the realm of Emperor Wu and the realm of Spirit Wu? Mu Xiaoming talks incessantly and turns Yunwu's mind to his questions. Yunwu looks at Mu Xiaoming helplessly. Even if he wants to answer his questions, he doesn't know where to answer them. By the way, Xiao Wu, what happened just now? How did you disappear? Mu Xiaoming finally asked a key question. Cloud Dance, corner of the mouth a hook, looking at in front of the same confused people, mysterious said. Take you to a place. As soon as the voice fell, Cloud Dance's heart moved, and it directly opened the gate of the 3rd floor of Chaos Hall. When people were wondering where they were going, they saw a faint soft white light. In the consciousness of Cloud Dance, we will wrap all the people in it. Then a flash, people have no feeling. They found that the surrounding environment suddenly changed. Just now it was just above the square of the tomb, but at this time it went directly to another place. The golden twinkling array and rune were hidden in the light white fog. What is this place? Lin Yintong, who has always been calm, said in surprise. Long Qingxia looked around, and his last eyes were fixed in front of Yunwu. The Cloud Dances the corner of the mouth a hook, pour also not conceal. It's something in me. Because the realm of martial arts and spirit has entered into the realm of martial arts and spirit. It opens up this ability. It can transfer people here in an instant and play the role of escape. In the eyes of the outside world, it is the disappearance of body shape and breath at the same time. And now that I let you in, it just shows that this thing can be used for large-scale targets. Cloud Dance said in a good mood. They all looked at Yunwu with strange eyes, and they thought, it's more and more against the sky, which is equivalent to being invincible. Cloud Dance calmly bare the eyes of the public, said, just got the ability, the specific is not sure, so I don't know if it can meet a powerful enemy cannot be found. After all, even now, it's enough. With a flash of light, the crowd reappeared in the square. Xiaowu, where are you going next? Mu Xiaoming came to Yunwu and said with a smile. Cloud Dance white he one eye, this guy, don't want to let oneself return to what all boundary? In that case go back. She was separated from her friends there. Maybe she could see them when she went back? At present, Cloud Dance Light said. Back to the boundary of wood. On the other side, when Shangguan and Nangong opened their eyes again, a forest suddenly appeared before they met, and they couldn't see the end. In the hot summer, there were only a few bird calls wandering in the woods. The smell of leaves made Shangguan look at a loss. Then he sighed helplessly. Have we been sent somewhere else? Shangguan looks around helplessly and turns to Nangong Yi's face. Nangong Yi looks around faintly. He doesn't speak at all. He doesn't feel depressed. He just stands quietly and looks like a human character. After a long time, he finally pointed to a place in front of him and said, go that way, the inn we've been to is in front of you. Ah, not bad. Shangguan looked at the direction pointed by Nangong Yi in surprise and raised his mouth. Let's go. How far is it? Not far. Nangong Yi slightly raises the corner of his mouth and takes the lead in walking towards the front. Shangguan, with a smile, hurriedly followed him, and the two walked forward. The forest was so big that they couldn't see the edge at a glance. After walking for a long time, they didn't go anywhere. The hot afternoon had already arrived, which made Shangguan very depressed. He turned to look at Nangongji with a calm face, and was very helpless. You say that's ahead. How long will it take to arrive? If we go on like this, we will starve to death. Why don't you have a rest first? Nangongyi said, turning around and sitting under the tree. I'm afraid you don't see where it is. Skimming his mouth, he took out some food from his luggage and handed it to Nangong-yi. They simply added some energy. Under the shade of the trees, the cool wind made Shangguan feel comfortable for a moment. He sighed contentedly. I don't know what the boundary of Mudu is like now. I'm afraid it has been occupied by the people of the Beast Gate. Nangong-yi closed his eyes, lowered his head, and sat cross-knee. He didn't plan to pay attention to Shangguan at all. Bored, Shangguan picked up dogtail grass from the ground, held it in his mouth and closed his eyes. After a while, he suddenly heard the voice of the people around him. Shangguan opened his eyes and saw Nangong-yi standing beside him, looking down at him. Let's go, it's in front. My God, you just said it was in the front. Shangguan wailed. Nangong-yi glanced at Shangguan, turned his head and looked in front of him. There was a long road in front of a large forest. Shangguan immediately in front of a bright. Ah! Nangongji quickened his pace and galloped towards the boundary of the wood capital. Maybe we can meet our friends. The upper official fart bumps within the South Temple east side. Smile ha say. In the scorching sun, the road hidden in the woods was blown by the wind, which raised the dust, so that both of them could not help squinting. Sure enough, not far away, the inn is located at the end of the road. The tourists who used to come and go sit here, drink tea and chat, but now it's a lot colder. Come on, maybe the innkeeper knows something. Shangguan hurried to the direction of the inn, but was stopped by Nangong-yi and said, Be careful of ambush. They closed their eyes at the door for a while, and found nothing strange. Then they went into the inn. When I just walked into the inn, I saw that there were only a few people in the inn, and Xiao Er, who was sitting behind the counter and dozing. They found a table and sat down. Xiao Er, make a good pot of tea. I saw the young man behind the counter. Suddenly a smart sat up, and looked at Nangong and Shangguan sitting at the table. After a long time he yawned. Then he rubbed his eyes sleepily, took the teapot, and walked towards them. Good tea, where is there any good tea? Now there are fewer guests. Alas, life is too hard. He poured 2 cups of tea for Nangongyi and Shengguan. He yawned, and went back to the counter. He fell down and fell asleep again. Shengguan raised his eyebrows and looked at the loveless little two in front of him. He shrugged helplessly. Can we order something to eat now? No, just have a drink and get ready to go. Small two lie on the table stuffy say. Shengguan was speechless and ready to go on the road. What a bad word. Nangongyi took a sip of tea. He couldn't help frowning. He looked at the clear and light tea in the cup and silently put it down. He asked, has anyone ever been in here since the boundary of the wood capital was destroyed? Yes. Small two suddenly sat up, very surprised, went to 2 people in front of a look, said, a few days ago, a man and a woman went in, after entering never come out, they went in, also asked this sentence. Nangongyi and Shengguan looked at each other, and saw each other's serious surprise, so they were silent. For a long time, Nangongyi suddenly said, let's take a rest and go. Qi Yi should have gone in. Shengguan nodded seriously, then turned his head and patted Shower on the shoulder, and said, do you see the people of the Beast Gate passing by these days? Small two one face is confused, looking at 2 people to shake head. Seeing that they may not be able to ask anything, Shengguan and Nangongyi nodded, continued to drink tea and stopped talking. All of a sudden, there was a sound of footwork behind him. A man came in from the outside. As soon as he entered the door, he yelled at the counter. Little two. A pot of good tea with that, sitting on a table in front of Shengguan and Nangongyi. Xiaoyar was stunned for a long time. Then he slowly picked up the teapot, went to pour water for the man and said, we don't have many people here. How can we have good tea? Just drink it. The man didn't speak. He just picked up the cup and drank it. It seemed that he was thirsty for a long time. He raised his head and asked the young man, has anyone ever been in the wood capital since it was destroyed? Xiao'er blinked, turned his head, looked up at Shengguan and Nangongyi and said, maybe you know each other? At this time, Shengguan and Nangongyi suddenly turned their heads, accompanied by Shengguan's surprise cry. Ah, isn't this Situlan? In front of him, Situlan quickly turned his head, looked at the people behind him, and said with a smile, my God, you really have no place to find. I knew you would come to the border of Mudu to find us. At this time he saw a man in white sitting beside the Shengguan. He was stunned for a long time by his excellent appearance. This man's feeling was so familiar. His cold and delicate appearance made Situlan tilt his head for a long time. Then he tentatively asked, are you Nangongyi Nangongyi, who has taken off the veil, is really amazing. Situlan looks up and down for a long time, and then laughs with surprise. It's really Nangongyi. Haha, that's great. I finally found you sitting next to Shengguan and Nangongyi. Situlan was very happy and turned to Shower and said, let's have some good dishes. The second kid scratched his head and said, there's no good food. You'd better have some tea and go. Situlan laughs and takes out the meat of Warcraft from his luggage. He says, I killed the wolf and cut the meat. I'm afraid there's nothing to eat on the road. Let's cook it and take it. Xiao'er opened his mouth and looked at the left and right people. Then he took the wolf back, swallowed his saliva and went to the kitchen. The 3 sat at the table and drank tea. Xiao'er said that someone had already entered the boundary of Mudu, so it might be Mengbai and Qi Yi's or Xiaowu. Shengguan said, looking at Situlan. Maybe the people of the Beast Gate are still here, so we must hurry to find them, otherwise they will be in danger. Situlan nodded seriously. Just now we don't know what's going on inside at all, so we should be extremely cautious, and we can't act alone. 3 people sitting there, and there is no one to talk about being scattered in other places encountered things, until the small 2 with meat came up, put in front of a few people. Shengguan smacked his mouth and looked at the fragrant barbecue in front of him. He immediately got excited. He tore off a piece of it and put it into his mouth. He was hot and exhaled. Wow, it's really delicious. Situlan and Nangongyi both picked up the meat, tore off one, and put it into their mouth to taste it. Suddenly, Shengguan turned his head and looked to the side. He saw Shower standing beside him, looking at the meat among the three people, swallowing saliva, and biting another piece. Shangguan patted Shower on the shoulder and asked him to sit down. Come on, you also sit down and eat with us. By the way, tell us what happened to the boundary of Mudu during this period. Little Tu's eyes suddenly shine, turned to see Nangongyi and Situlan, seemed to be asking for their consent. Nangongyi ignored, but Situlan is smiling and nodding, and give Little Tu a place. Maybe I haven't eaten such delicious food for a long time. I tore off a big piece of meat and ate it very delicious. Looking at the Little Tu's eating, Shangguan reluctantly put his hand on his head, tore off a small piece, put it into his mouth and chewed carefully. You said, have you seen people in black clothes coming in from here recently? On hearing this, he nodded in a hurry. The meat he had not yet swallowed was in his mouth. He was very anxious to speak. As a result, he choked and coughed. Situlan poured a cup of tea for him, and he poured it down crazily. Then he wiped his mouth and said, You're right. Recently, there are always people in black who come in from here, and then few people come out. I doubt whether they died in the house. It's too late. He tore off another piece of meat, put it in his mouth, chewed it twice, swallowed it, and continued. So I said you'd better not go in. What I see now is basically that there is no way out. I'm afraid that now the boundary of Mudu has become a dangerous place. Since the boundary of Mudu was destroyed, it has long been a dangerous place. Nangongyi frowned and looked at the gate of Mudu not far away. He didn't speak. Let's go quickly, or maybe the people inside will have some trouble. Shangguan said, bite down a large piece of meat in his mouth, swallow it, smack his mouth. Full, how about you? Otherwise, let's go. Nangongyi slightly raises the corner of his mouth, turns his head, and suddenly reaches out and grabs Shower's collar. Before Shangguan and Situlan could react, they saw that Xiao suddenly raised his hand, and a black fighting spirit gushed out of his hand and patted Nangongyi's chest. Nangongyi sneers coldly. He sidesteps and raises his hand to hold Shower's neck. Suddenly, Shower is picked up by him and thrown like a wall. With a bang, the wall of the inn was knocked and shaken, and the Little Tu spouted blood and fell to the ground. I said, we give you meat to eat, and you even attack us. Shangguan is very helpless to squat down, looking at the ground gasping for breath of the small Tu. Said, other people are not already in? They on their way here, cough cough cough. Xiao coughed 2 times violently, and then he died. Several people's hearts sank, looked at each other, got up and walked out. It seems that we can't delay. A little later, I'm afraid the people of the Beast Gate will arrive. I'm afraid we can't escape at that time. We have to find the 2 people inside now. Situlan's words were agreed by Nangongyi and Shangguan, so several people went out. Just walking to the gate of the border of Mudu, several people can't help slowing down. The city, which was prosperous before, has become a ruined city in a twinkling of an eye. The whole city is as silent as death. The blood of the past has been dried away. There was a sense of extermination. I feel that something might happen here, so we'd better find them soon. Situlan frowned and looked around. Nangong and Shangguan nodded in agreement. In the world of Mudu, they felt gloomy, as if someone was staring at several people in the dark. 3 people all the way speechless, very vigilant forward, looking around the dead general city. What do we do? Where are we going to find them? Shangguan looked around in frustration. After all, this place is so big, and we don't know whether what the Little Tu said just now is true, if not true. It's okay. Let's look for it again. Nangongyi frowned slightly, looked at the surrounding scenery and sighed. We have to find them. In the chaos and silence of the city, a voice came suddenly. This way? Who knows, we seem to be trapped. What to do with that? Hearing the voice of one of them, Shangguan opened his eyes in surprise. It seems to be Qi Yi's voice. 2 people around are also very surprised. A few people rushed to the front of the sound of the place. After a while, sure enough, I saw 2 figures in front of me. They sat on one of the steps and seemed very depressed. The 3 men ran in the direction of the 2, and the Shangguan ran and yelled. Qi Yi, Mengbai, is that you? The empty city was able to send out echoes. After several circles, the sound finally reached the ears of people over there. Nangongyi's steps suddenly stopped. What's the matter? Shangguan and Situlan turn their heads and look at Nangongyi standing behind them. They are a little strange. What happened? Nangongyi didn't speak, just quietly closed his eyes for a moment, and said, "We seem to have entered an array." Before they finished speaking, the three of them looked behind them almost at the same time. The scenery behind them suddenly changed, and they didn't know each other. The way we came here has completely changed. It seems that we are really trapped. Shangguan felt a thump in his heart. In this case, he suddenly entered the Dharma array. Who knows if it was the ghosts of the people of the beast sect? Thinking like this, he felt very heavy. Suddenly, the two people over there stood up and walked towards the three people. They seemed to be a little uncertain and cautious. Three people stood in the same place, waiting for the two people over there to come this way. Are the people over there Meng Bai and Qi Yi's? Shangguan suddenly yelled at the opposite person, but saw that the two people there bowed their heads and said something. Then the woman's voice suddenly came. Is it Shangguan? Finally confirmed the identity of the other five people, quickly gathered together. This time everyone finally came back. We've really been separated for a long time. Now we finally meet, and there are only 5 of them left. Shangguan and others looked around, but they could not help frowning. But now we are trapped in the array, I feel very unsafe. There seems to be no danger in this array. Mengbai said. We just don't know why we can't get out. We've been looking here for a long time, but we haven't found out how to solve this array. Several people walked to a large open space in the center, sat on the ground and formed a circle. We can't get out now, but because the second boy in the inn just now is from the Beast Gate, I think the Beast Gate people may be coming soon. Situlan said that he turned to look at Nangongyi. Nangongyi sat on his knees and said nothing. The atmosphere was a little tense, and everyone was silent. They sat on the ground and took the time to practice. They were on guard. Suddenly there was a strong wind. Let all people cannot help but a tight, quickly stand up. Fighting wrapped the whole body. It seems that the second child is right. The people of the Beast Gate have arrived. Qi Yi's frowned and his voice was very serious. However, after perceiving the realm of the companions around, everyone clearly laughed. It turns out that everyone has successfully broken through. In this way, today's battle should not be too difficult. Sure enough, a large group of people in black came here. We are now trapped in the array. We are just being hanged. Shangguan frowned and smacked his lips. He looked at the crowd in black outside and murmured. In front of him, countless people in black suddenly came over and cleverly surrounded the array, standing in a circle, surrounded 5 people. Around the dark array, I gradually feel that it's dark. We can only defend. If we attack, we are too hindered. Shangguan's expression became more and more serious. I saw countless people in black around, with strong and abnormal aura, which made several people's expressions gradually serious. The men in black are well trained. They are surrounded but don't go in. Obviously, they know that they will be trapped if they go in. The weapons in the hands of countless people in black, wrapped in black fighting spirit, shot at Shangguan and others. Several people a bite, back to back, carefully deal with. We don't feel like we're in the net. Shangguan grinned bitterly. He turned to look around him. All the people dealt with him cautiously. No one paid any attention to him. Nangongyi glanced at Shangguan and said, "Don't be distracted. There are countless people in black fighting. They are all in their realm. Although the fighting is not so difficult, they are also very helpless. The continuous flow of people in black makes them have no time to care about others." Qi Yi suddenly frowned slightly and looked up at the person in front of him. He suddenly carried out a fight in his hand, turned into a whip, stretched out of the array, hooked a man's foot, directly pulled into the array, and threw it fiercely towards the ground. In an instant, the man in black had lost his breath. Nangongyi looks down at the ground. Countless small stones are scattered around him. Luck collects all the stones on the ground in front of him, and shoots them out quickly. In an instant, the people in black outside scream and fall down. They don't stand up again. "Hello," I said. "Don't look for all these minions. Let's play some important roles. It's boring for us to fight." Shangguan suddenly cried out helplessly, raised his hand to shoot out, and knocked down a large area of the man in black in front of him. Suddenly, the attack of the man in black slowed down a lot. Since you've all said that, it's not very kind of me not to come and play with you for a while. A familiar voice came from the man in black in front of him. As soon as several people's faces changed, they turned their heads and looked up at Shangguan. Their eyes were full of murderous spirit. Shangguan coughed 2 times and scratched his head with a bitter smile. Saw in front of the crowd suddenly flew out of a familiar figure. Immediately led a few people back a step, vigilant look at the person in front of. Shangguan Li seems to be in a very good mood. He goes to the side of the array with a smile, backs his hands, looks at the 5 people in the array, and says, "It's really no effort." With that he turned to Nangong Yi. Nangong Yi frowned and looked sideways. Shangguan gritted his teeth and said angrily, "If you have the ability you'll come in, or you'll have no trouble." Before he finished speaking, Shangguan Li suddenly raised his hand and patted Shangguan's chest. Shangguan was so nervous that he quickly raised his hand to defend himself. However, people around him suddenly rushed forward to resist Shangguan's attack. All 5 of them felt that their qi and blood were surging, and they almost vomited blood, but Shangguan Li stepped back 2 steps, and the corner of his mouth was covered with blood. The corners of the mouth of the 5 people couldn't help but stir up and attack the Shangguan. But Shangguan Li was outside the array after all. They couldn't grasp Shangguan Li's direction flexibly. They screamed outside for a while, but they didn't hurt Shangguan Li. "What are you struggling with?" Shangguan gave a sneer and attacked several people. All of a sudden, 5 people felt the pressure suddenly increased, gritted their teeth, carried out the fighting spirit, wrapped the whole body, and tried their best to resist. A man in black is beside Shangguan Li. He looks at 5 people trying to stop Shangguan Li's attack. His eyes turn, and he claps them in the direction of Qi Yi's. Suddenly feel a strong wind hit Qi Knight, eyebrows slightly wrinkled, but in front of the officially strong pressure let her simply can't escape. Suddenly, in front of a white shadow suddenly appeared, will Qi Knight behind resist the black fighting? Nangongji. Qi Yi's anxiously looks at the Nangong Yi in front of him and shouts. He raises his hand and drags the man in black from outside. He presses him on the ground and pats him to death. Also at this moment, Shangguan Li suddenly changes direction, mercilessly blows Nangong Yi out. Nangong Yi suddenly fell to the ground, coughed twice, spewed out a big mouthful of blood, covered his chest, and didn't stand up for a long time. For people instant quick red eyes, will South Palace block behind. The upper official raises hand to pick up the long sword to the upper official mercilessly stab. In an instant, there was a roar. Qi Yi's quickly helps Nangong Yi up. Looking at Nangong Yi anxiously, he sees Nangong Yi shaking his head at her, saying that he is okay. He wipes the corners of his mouth, and reluctantly stands up with Qi Yi's help. But Shangguan Li didn't plan to give up and attack 5 people more fiercely. After several confrontations with Shangguan Li, several people were exhausted and panting. Looking at their appearance, they couldn't help laughing bitterly. I didn't expect that all of us arrived at the boundary of Mudu by chance, but we happened to meet the Beast Gate. Maybe the people of Beast Gate have already designed all this. So all of them were caught. In other words, there are 2 less of you. Shangguan picked his eyebrows and looked at the people in front of him. He looked at 5 people from left to right and touched his chin with that. He raised his hand. In an instant, the man in black behind continued to attack. But these minions are really no threat. There are countless corpses of the beast sect outside the array. Shangguan Li stands outside and looks at the 5 people in the array like a good play. We have to find a way to break this array. Nangong Yi said that his face was pale, and he was obviously hurt. This array doesn't do us any harm, which means it must be set up for us by friends. Situlan lowered his head and thought. Just then, Shangguan Li suddenly slapped Shangguan. Before Shangguan could react, he was slapped with one palm, and his blood gushed. He had no strength to stand up. Seeing that 2 of the 5 had been injured, the atmosphere became more and more heavy. You said the array was set by a friend? Is it a little dance? The 2 of them Qi Yi hears Situlan's words, can't help but frown to ask away. As soon as the words came out, Situlan's heart trembled. It's really possible. Don't forget that dragon has the ability to pour evil. But now the situation does not allow them to think so much. Shangguan attacks one move after another. After he is injured, his eyes are full of disgust. Well, that's rubbish, Shangguan said coldly. Shangguan sneered. He had no strength to stand up, but in the face of Shangguan Li, he still had no fear. Friends around the moment will be surrounded by Shangguan. A face of vigilant looking at Shangguan Li. We all broke through Emperor Wu, but we didn't even have the ability to fight him. Shangguan was behind them, coughing violently, whispering, and sitting on his knees to heal quickly. Nangongyi doesn't speak either. In front of him, Qi Yi's, Meng Bai and Situlan blocked them. When Yunwu was there, only 2 Wudi could escape from him, but now all 5 of them are promoted, and they are not rivals at all. Because of the array, they can only be beaten passively. For a moment, everyone hates the person who set the array. Shangguan was very proud with a smile. He looked down at his hand and suddenly jumped into the array. Shangguan Li has come in. Meng Bai's face suddenly changed color. When he came in, didn't it mean that he was going to die? In this case, he couldn't get out, and 5 of himself couldn't get out, and 1 to 5 was more than enough for Shangguan Li. The 3 men quickly surrounded Shangguan and Nangongyi, and wrapped them in fighting spirit. Shangguan Li, who entered the array, looked at the 3 panting people in front of him and burst out laughing. You people still want to fight with me? It's too tender. Raise your hand and grab Meng Bai's neck. As soon as Meng Bai's face changed, he took out his long sword and stabbed Shangguan Li's palm. But in a moment, Shangguan Li had disappeared from his body and had not yet reacted. 2 people around him had already been beaten out. Shangguan Li pinched Meng Bai's neck and lifted him up. Meng Bai couldn't breathe, his face was red, his mouth was wide, his legs were kicking. Qi Yi's takes a look at it, and draws out his sword to attack Shangguan Li. However, Shangguan Li doesn't want to dodge at all. He shoots it directly and knocks Qi Yi's sword out. Meng Bai and Qi Yi's come forward in a hurry, and they stab a sword at the same time. Shangguan's vigorous action was blocked, but he had to leave Qi Yi's behind and take 2 steps backward. How do you feel? This Shangguan Li has become stronger. Situlan whispered in Meng Bai's ear. I'm afraid they're coming. It's useless. No way. Shangguan suddenly cut in and said with a relaxed face. We can almost draw with him before. Even if he becomes stronger, we will become stronger. Xiao Wu comes back, we can still draw with him, at least we won't be defeated. I don't know when Xiao Wu will come. Situlan grinned bitterly and looked at Shangguan Li, who seemed to be watching his own plays. But think about it, now we are all stronger. I really want Xiao Wu to come and have a look. Now we can fight side by side with her. Several people watched Shangguan Li warily, but they were chatting, which made Shangguan Li angry. Yelled. How many of you have finished talking? Shangguan Li's very arrogant smile, looking at a few people in front of him, laughing. Children, I hope you can live longer, don't let me down too much. Before he finished speaking, Shangguan Li's whole body was suddenly wrapped by black energy. The black repressive atmosphere suddenly filled the middle of the whole array with pressure. Nangongyi suddenly finished his work and stood beside Qi Yi's, surrounded by purple fighting Qi. Are you okay? Qi Night Color didn't turn a head, just light of asked a, more light glimpses South Temple although the facial expression is some pale. But there was no big problem. Relieved, he turned to see Shangguan. Shangguan still closed his eyes and breathed quietly. Before the meeting, Shangguan Li suddenly set out and rushed towards the 4 people. His body was like a phantom, leaving a remnant, which caught people off guard. Qi Yi's snake sword forward a probe. Unexpectedly once pounce on empty, hastily break footstep. Turning back to stab, he saw a flower in front of him. He was tight in his heart. He quickly raised his sword to defend. He saw the figure of Shangguan Li coming near behind him. The huge pressure made Qi Yi's frown. But after seeing Shangguan Li, Shangguan suddenly stood up and took out his sword to stab Shangguan Li's back. Shangguan Li has already felt the feeling of sword wind. He turns over and dodges the sword. He also misses the best corner to attack Qi Yi's, and throws her on the ground. Qi Yi's finally regained her freedom. She touched her neck, gasped violently, and breathed the fresh air. Shengguan stood beside Qi Yi's, frowned at Shengguan Li, and said to Qi Yi's, "Are you okay? We must not hurt anyone again. It's still possible to beat him together." Qi Knight nodded, 5 people back to back, for fear that the cunning Shengguan Li will break several people one by one. Outside is the attack of the minions of the Beast Gate. Inside is Shengguan Li, which is close at hand. The pressure on a few people is enormous. But Shengguan Li didn't give them time to rest at all. The stones on the ground were wrapped in black energy and flew towards 5 people. The stone came from the front with a sharp wind. 5 people raised their weapons in an instant and banged all the stones on the ground, but it was so painful that the Shengguan could not help showing his teeth. Qi Knight, also not to be outdone, and raised the snake sword toward the official Li stab. Seeing this, Nangong Yi and Shengguan rush forward and attack Shengguan fiercely. The upper official on the opposite side suddenly raises his eyebrows and waves away the attack of Nangong Yi and Nangong Yi. But he sees Qi Knight in front of him approaching. Shengguan took a step back in a hurry and stopped all the 3 men's attacks. But it's not over yet. Meng Bai and Situlan shot at Shengguan in an instant. Shengguan looked at several people. He was angry and his fighting spirit suddenly overflowed. His fighting spirit expanded in an instant. A huge energy suddenly attacked the 5 people. Suddenly, several people had no time to cover their faces, so they were knocked down by the Shengguan. Shengguan Li didn't stop, and didn't give several people the chance to resist. He clapped his hands in the direction of 5 people. The 5 suddenly turned pale. All of a sudden, a white light flashed in front of the 5 people. Before they knew whether they were enemies or friends, they saw 2 figures suddenly appear in the white light. "It's a good time to come." A familiar male voice suddenly came, which made 5 people feel excited one by one. The pressure instantly disappeared. 5 people quickly stood up and rushed to 2 people's side. "I haven't seen you for a long time. Did you miss us?" Dragon Qing, evil hook mouth, a touch of evil smile, handsome abnormal. "My little thing also said she miss you." Beside him, Yunwu stands quietly, looking at Shengguan Li in front of him. And the clouds are light and the wind is light. Beside Yunwu, Lin Yuntong and Mu Xiaoming also stand beside him, but it's just a tense moment now, so I didn't have time to introduce. Long time no see. Cloud Dance, light smile Wei. Seeing Cloud Dance, Shengguan Li's face was a little ugly for a moment, but he still said with a smile, "We always meet like this. Little 9, little stink, come out." In an instant, Xiaojiu had rushed out and ran towards Shengguan Li, while Xiaoqiu, circling in the sky, screamed sharply. After a few circles, he dived down and rushed towards Shengguan Li. Gu Wu's sword was held in his hand for a moment. Yin Wu's eyes were cold and didn't speak anymore. His whole body was full of fighting spirit. Gu Wu's sword was wrapped with thunder elements, and he slashed at Shengguan with lightning. As soon as the fighting spirit was urged, everyone knew immediately that this strange woman had already broken through Wuling. 5 people all looked at the figure of Cloud Dance in amazement, and their hearts were full of incredible. Originally, they thought they had caught up with Cloud Dance, but they didn't expect that Cloud Dance had already broken through Wuling before them. Gu Wu's broadsword cuts at Shengguan Li's face without any fancy action. Shengguan Li lowers his head and sneers. The black air is wrapped in the palm of his hand. He avoids the sharp wind and grabs at Yunwu's wrist. Cloud Dance doesn't evade. Gu Wu broadsword side passed, slanting toward the neck of Shengguan Li cut. Shengguan Li heart shock, instantly avoid. Gu Wu's broadsword crossed Shengguan Li's neck, and a bloodstain appeared under his neck. Whoosh of the wind, so that everyone was dumbfounded. This little dance is incredible. Shengguan could not help shaking his head and exclaiming, "I thought we had the ability to show off to her at last." Long Qingxia stood aside and looked at Yunwu with a smile. In that way, he wanted to see his lover playing in front of him. "Little guy, do you need me to untie this Dharma array?" Yunwu frowned slightly, but shook his head, did not speak, and continued to attack the Shengguan. Shengguan Li is also annoyed. He suddenly roars and pours at Yunwu in front of him. As soon as they saw this, they all looked at each other and ran in the direction of Cloud Dancing. But all of a sudden, the Wan Beast men and others who had been standing outside attacking suddenly rushed into the array. The whole scene was a mess. 5 people and Cloud Dance were separated in an instant. In their hearts, The 5 people were in trouble. They took a long sword and stabbed at the men in front of them. They were wrapped up in fighting spirit. Basically, the minions of the 10,000 Beast sect could not get in. In a short time, the minions of the Beast Gate had fallen to the ground. A river of blood. Cloud Dance has been panting, constantly panting, looking at the front. Shangguanli also panting, the corner of his mouth raised a sneer. Yes, I underestimate you. You're growing up too. Yunwu gasps, but there is a faint smile on her face. After a long struggle, they don't hurt each other. It's just that Yunwu's physical strength drops too fast. Sure enough, there is still a gap, so at this time, it's better to make a quick decision. Suddenly, Xiao Chou came down from the sky and pecked at Shangguanli's eyes, but he was patted by Shangguanli and left for a long time with a sharp cry. Suddenly, Yunwu's face became more ugly. Little 9 up. Small 9 immediately rushed forward, behind 9 huge tails spread out, from the ancient authority toward the officially attack and go. Cloud Dance also suddenly pours at Shangguanli Fei. Gu Wu's sword is in his hand, and there's a whir of wind. Shangguanli's face turns pale, and turns to his side. Cloud Dance does not give an opportunity at all. Backhand continues to slash toward upper official. It was very difficult for Shangguan to deal with it. At this time, the 8 people over there have already come to Yunwu and fight against the minions around them with Long Qingxia Lin Yuntong. The momentum of the 8 people made the minions of the Beast Gate tremble. Some of the injured people had fallen on their knees and vomited blood. Yunwu doesn't have a side head. She is fighting with Shangguanli attentively. However, she has already felt everyone's state. She has a confident smile at the corner of her mouth. She looks at Shangguanli and doesn't say a word. Today we're going to get together and talk about what we've seen and heard during our separation. Ha ha ha. Shangguan said out loud and laughed. As soon as everyone heard this, they couldn't help but raise their mouths and fight with high morale. Yunwu suddenly raised his sword and ran to Shangguan. The people behind are all behind Yunwu, but in the opposite direction, they are attacking the minions around them. Shangguanli has already urged the fighting spirit, and the whole person has fallen into the black fighting spirit, and the expression on his face has been blurred. He sneered and attacked in the direction of Cloud Dance. As soon as Nangong Yi saw that it seemed dangerous, he quickly used his fighting spirit to transform the sword qi and hit Shangguan fiercely. Shangguanli was in a hurry to deal with it, and the cloud had already cut down on Shangguanli. Shangguanli obviously can't cope with it. There is a flash of white light around him. The dragon has come to Shangguanli's back in a moment. Suddenly, Shangguanli's face suddenly changes. But after weighing it, he decides to attack in the direction of Cloud Dance. Suddenly, there was a roar and smoke. Shangguanli spewed out a mouthful of blood and stepped back several steps. But Yunwu was not comfortable either. She stepped back a few steps, and the blood was gurgling down the corner of her mouth. She wiped the corner of her mouth with an indifferent look. She lifted the sword and continued to rush toward Shangguanli. Shangguan gritted his teeth and looked at the speed of Cloud Dance. With a sneer, he raised his hand to uproot all the trees around him and smash them in the direction of Cloud Dance. Yunwu raises Guwu's broadsword, which cuts the whole tree back like tofu, but she comes to Shangguanli in the moment of cutting. Shangguan's heart tightened, and he immediately attached his whole body's fighting spirit to his chest for defense. But the power of Cloud Dance was so powerful that he suddenly hit Shangguan several meters away and hit a tree with dust all around him. Suddenly, everything was gone. A fierce cough came out of the smoke, which was obviously a man's voice, which made everyone light in an instant after a lot of relaxation. Yunwu coughed twice, waved away the dust in front of him, spat out a mouthful of blood, and looked at Shangguanli in front of him. Suddenly, a smug smile rose from the corner of his mouth. He's hurt, and the injury is very serious. I saw Shangguanli had knelt down on the ground. His face was pale, his mouth was covered with blood, and he gasped in a hurry. He looked at Yunwu with red eyes, as if he wanted to eat Yunwu, but his embarrassed appearance made people around him feel funny. Long Qingxia stepped forward to hold up Yunwu, turned his head and glanced coldly at Shangguan. He lowered his head and asked Yunwu with worried eyes. "Little guy, what's the matter with you?" Cloud Dance light smile, said a voice to have nothing to do, Stand up, go to the officer Li. But Long Qingxia frowned slightly, took her hand and said, Little guy, have you had enough fun? This time, we should be able to kill him. Dragon Qing evil go-go mouth, and showed a pair of evil charm smile. In an instant, the friends around them all ran towards the direction of Dragon, but in an instant, countless people of the Beast Gate once again blocked everyone. Yunwu stood up and vomited. The purple fighting spirit enveloped his whole body. He turned his head and looked at the faces of the people around him in a hurry. With a smile, he and Long Qingxia rushed to the Shangguan. Under the sky of the Wholewood capital, there was only a sound of sword fighting in the Dharma formation. The smoke of gunpowder was like a battlefield. The sky was bloody red, and the air was filled with a strong smell of blood. Shangguan looked at the countless beast minions coming up in front of him and showed his teeth. Why are there so many people? Is it difficult that these people are all free gifts? With that, he saw a small minion coming in front of him on the ground. Then another person came up. He quickly sidestepped to avoid his attack, and threw his blood on the ground. Even if it's a free gift, how can it be? These shrimp soldiers and crab generals come up to die. Beside him, Mu Xiaoming said with a smile that he would chop down a minion with his sword. Suddenly, everyone felt relaxed again. Look around you. The bodies of countless minions have been piled up under your feet. They are flowing with blood, but they don't make the people of Beast Gate feel timid. They still rush forward like crazy, and then they are beaten out by Shangguan and others. I can't bear to see it. At this time, Yunwu was already out of breath, and his hand was shaking so that he could not hold the knife. He tore a piece of cloth from his body, wrapped the knife and hand together, and then shot it at the person in front of him. Shangguan Li had no strength to escape. He was hit with blood, and his face turned white. He lay on the ground in a panic, took a breath and closed his eyes. I can't take advantage of it, and you won't take advantage of it. Yunwu looks at Shangguan Li in front of him, but his mouth starts to sneer. As expected, although Shangguan Li has become stronger, he is not invincible after all, because at this time, Shangguan Li has vomited blood, panting, and seems to be unable to fight anymore. Cloud dances to pick eyebrow, also relax vigilance. Guwu big knife cuts toward the superior official in front of. But Shangguan Li saw Yunwu slashing so hard, and turned around to avoid it, but he gasped and was exhausted. Finally, Shangguan Li's staff gradually reduced, which made everyone feel relieved, but they all laughed when they looked at their embarrassed appearance covered with blood. After killing the few minions left by her side, the 7 people immediately relaxed and walked in the direction of Cloud Dance, thinking if they could help her. Little 9. Come back, Cloud Dance shouts. In an instant, Xiaojiu stands beside Cloud Dance and looks at Shangguan Li. Shangguan Li is weak and lying on the ground, but the murderous spirit in his eyes is very obvious. I don't think we need to waste our efforts. Even if Yunwu doesn't fight with you alone, now that so many of us join hands, you won't get any advantage. Mu Xiaoming said with a sneer. Shangguan Li raised his head and looked at the people in front of him. He didn't expect that they were not worth fighting before. Now they are so strong. Let's look at the large group of people around them. And his men also have few left. The ground is covered with his men's bodies. Immediately lowered his head to think for a while, suddenly got up, turned and wanted to leave. Dare to go. Long Qingxia picks his eyebrows, raises his hand with a wave of energy, grabs Shangguan in an instant, and claps him with one hand. Suddenly, Shangguan spat out blood and flew back. A long parabola fell to the ground with a bang, coughed twice, blood gushed in his mouth, covered his chest and gasped. He didn't stand up for a long time. Shangguan and others wiped the last 2 minions' necks. Then they came over, but they saw Shangguan Li was knocked down on the ground, pale and panting violently. Shangguan sneered, looked down at Shangguan and said, I told you not to look down on anyone. With a cold hum, the corner of Shangguan's mouth raised a faint smile, but unexpectedly, Shangguan Li suddenly flew up to Shangguan. Too close, Shangguan didn't have time to hide, and his pupils shrank, but Shangguan's sharp palm had already patted him. All of a sudden, he felt a dull pain on his body, which made him spew out a mouthful of blood. He stepped back several steps before stopping. However, he sneered and wiped the corner of his mouth. I don't think you're so good. He coughed 2 more times. Shang Guanli's face was pale. He knelt down on the ground and gasped for breath. He looked up at the eyes of Yunwu and others, but his eyes were full of murderous and unwilling. Yunwu came over and raised his sword to Shang Guan. He said faintly, I think the fate of our meeting like this is up to today. Shang Guanli's face turned pale, and his forehead was sweating. He bowed his head and thought about it, but suddenly clapped his hand at Yunwu, and then ran away behind him. In a twinkling, a white light flashed, and Shang Guanli disappeared. The world suddenly quieted down. Shang Guan vomited, and finally collapsed on the ground with pale face. He was frightened by the cloud dance around him. He ran forward and cried, Is it all right, Shang Guan? A stream of fighting spirit flowed into Shang Guan's body. Suddenly, Shang Guan felt much more comfortable, and quickly sat up with his knees crossed to adjust his breath. Seeing that Shang Guan was all right, Yunwu asked again one by one, and confirmed that it was all right. Then he vomited and sat on the ground. Long time no see, friends. Yunwu turns his head and looks at the people around him. Yes, I haven't seen you for a long time. Everyone has improved a lot during this period. Situlan smiles, turns to look around and sighs. But it's still Xiao Wu. You and Long Qingxia are the most powerful. You have already broken through Wuling. Yunwu didn't answer, but turned to point at Lin Yuntong and said, This is Xu Yin's wife, Lin Yuntong. What? The Lady of Snow Silver? As soon as Yunwu's words were finished, everyone was dumbfounded. Shang Guan mouth smoked. Small 5, you go out a harvest is not small, so we can go back to find Snow Silver soon? Cloud Dance, a corner of the mouth hook, said. Not only that, you see. With that, Yunwu lifted his hand, and a box appeared in the palm of his hand, and opened in front of the crowd. Just for a moment, the next time the box would close again and disappear from Yunwu's hands. However, all the people present could see clearly. The flower of rattan. All they felt was that they were about to faint. Before I thought that the biggest harvest is myself, but now it seems that the biggest harvest is Cloud Dance. They broke through Emperor Wu, but Cloud Dance not only broke through the realm of Wuling, but also got the flower of rattan and Nine-Tail Fox. She even saved Xu Yin's wife. In contrast, people feel that their little progress is not enough. Xiao Wu, how did you get so many good things? Let's talk about it. Shang Guan said excitedly. Cloud Dance turns to look at the wood that stands nearby to repair Bright say, This should start from him. After that, we all sat down. For a long time, we didn't see many people. Unexpectedly, they all felt amazing about the experience of Cloud Dance. The young master of Mudu, the lady of Xu Yin, the blood corpse place, and the tomb of the ancient summoner all listened with great interest. They wanted to talk more about Yunwu. When they finished, it was half an hour. Cloud Dance, which has always talked less, is still rare. It has said so much. Now we finally get together, and we are all very happy. And because we have experienced a lot of things, we all have a lot to say, so after the Cloud Dance is finished, people will talk about their experiences and adventures with each other. It's like 3 months after a day's absence. We all feel like we haven't seen each other for a year. With a smile, Situlan patted Nangongyi on the shoulder, turned his head and looked at him. But suddenly he was surprised and said, Ah, Nanmei, where's your veil? Nangongyi light smile way, has broken through, don't need. Everyone's eyes turned to Nangongyi. Sure enough, I found out when Nangongyi's veil had been removed. At this time, Nangongyi, who was so amazing, was as handsome as a celestial being. Everyone could not help but praise him. He was really a beautiful man. Well, you don't know where I was sent. Just as everyone was talking about Nangongyi, Shang Guan suddenly interrupted everyone's voice, sighed and said, Don't mention how dark this matter is. Then he tells all about his life in Xiaojia tribe and how he met Nangongyi. That little girl actually can slander me to insult her, you say, ah. All the people around me are smiling. On hearing this, everyone began to talk about their experiences after being transported to other places. Yunwu lowers her head and laughs, listening to their stories. After many days of hard work, she finally gets relief after seeing her friend. She can't help but vomit, lift her cheek, and watch the crowd in front of her laughing. Long Qingxie sits beside Yunwu and looks at Yunwu's side face. Little guy, you're really good. Should we kiss you? Then he put his face together. Cloud danced slightly side head. Indifferent to avoid Long Qing evil mouth, helpless sigh, turned to see Lin Yuntong. Are you okay? Did you get hurt? Lin Yuntong listened to this words, quickly smiled to nod to indicate that he is not hurt. But unexpectedly he saw Shangguan, who was meditating and adjusting his breath, suddenly juggling. Xiao Wu, I'm injured, but you don't care about me at all, said, but also made a very hurt expression in the heart. Looks like people can't help laughing. He turned his head with a sigh. He couldn't bear to look at Shangguan. However, he heard everyone laughing and scolding Shangguan, and everyone began to joke again. Nangongyi sits on the ground and quietly looks at Qi's knight. For a long time, he is stunned and lowers his head. He doesn't know what to think. Well, in other words, we have been trapped in this Dharma array for so long. What can we do? Shangguan raised his eyebrows and asked, turning to see Mu Xiaoming. What can you do? Mu Xiaoming shook his head with a smile and said, this array is not set by me. How can I have a way? Then, Shangguan and everyone cast their eyes on Long Qingxi again. The dragon tilted evil to smile way. This kind of thing, you look for me not to be good at the beginning. At this time, Yunwu finally realized that everyone had been trapped for a long time. At this time, the formation was full of corpses of people from the Beast Gate, which was extremely bloody. It was better to leave as soon as possible and said, Dragon, you can break the formation. Long Qingxie chuckled, but he didn't get up. That's not easy, but you need a little guy to kiss you. A few people around me coughed violently. One after another, they feel that. Why haven't they seen each other for such a long time? It seems that the dragon has changed into a person? What they don't know is that they have just gone through almost a separation of life and death. Why do they have so many thoughts? I wish I could hide the cloud dance. It's good love. Cloud Dance glanced at Dragon Qingxie lightly. Suddenly, Dragon Qingxie sighed, shrugged helplessly and stood up. It's really a person without status. With that, he squatted on the ground with one hand and closed his eyes, but suddenly opened them with a slight frown. You say it's strange. This array has no threat to us at all. It seems that it has no other effect except to trap us. So all the people around were stunned, surprised. Yes, it seems like this. What's the situation? Maybe it was set up by friends. Nangongyi Lightway turned to see to Dragon Poor Evil. Long Qingxie shrugged. Who knows? I closed my eyes and recited a few words. Suddenly, I felt a gust of wind coming on my face, and the whole array broke into invisibility. At this time, a dignified voice sounded in the air. I don't want you to get together and talk more. An illusory figure suddenly appeared in front of several people. Immediately they were on guard and stood up from the ground. Yunwu coldly looked at the figure in front of him. He saw that he was a burly man in a black robe. His face was as tough as a knife. He just looked at them with a smile, but his breath made people feel very dignified, as if he were a born emperor. You are the Emperor of Wood? Yunwu was alert and looked at him calmly. To tell the truth, she didn't have much affection for the Mu Huang, although he gave Mu Xiaoming the flower of Mu Tung to his own hands. But after all, they play with themselves and others in the palm of their hands without being aware of them, so as to achieve the goal of dealing with the Beast Gate. If their targets were not the Beast Gate, and Mu Huang didn't mean anything to her, I'm afraid she would have done it when she saw Mu Huang. Mu Huang chuckles and doesn't answer her. Instead, he raises his hand to Mu Xiaoming, who is beside Yunwu, and signals him to go forward. Mu Xiaoming obediently stepped forward and stood in front of Mu Huang. Then he respectfully saluted and said in a clear voice, Father Huang. Mu Huang nodded kindly, and his dignity was reduced, as if a loving father was looking at his favorite child. It can be seen that although Mu Xiaoming is only his adopted son, he is the same as his own child. You did a good job. Mu Huang reached out to touch Mu Xiaoming's head with satisfaction, but now he's just a ghost. He can only symbolically move on Mu Xiaoming's head, but he can't really touch it. Thank you for your praise. Mu Xiaoming smiles gently, but there is a little loneliness in his eyes. His adoptive father, who used to be dignified, now has only a wisp of ghost. It's very sad that he feels like a hero in his old age. Mu Huang then looked up at some people in Yunwu and said, I have no malice towards them. I set up an array for the next meal. I'm just afraid that they will separate and go to other places, so I'll use this array to trap you. It's just that I was surprised by the appearance of those beasts. I'm very sorry for that. As soon as Mu Huang's words were finished, everyone understood the cause and effect. If he doesn't say it, I'm afraid people will think that he's with those beasts. How do you expect us to come back? Long Qingxia asked, looking at Mu Huang's eyes full of exploration. Let's not say that he didn't like Mu Xiaoming at all, but he went all the way with Yunwu without him. Now there's another father who uses array to trap his friends before meeting him. He's not so friendly. If he didn't believe in Xiaowu's eyes, he would have done it. The Wood Emperor felt that the dragon's evil attitude was not friendly, but he didn't mean to blame. Instead, he calmly replied, You will come back. Even if you don't plan to come back, I'll find a way to get you back. Long Qingxia's eyes narrowed dangerously. Looking at Mu Huang, his eyes were more unfriendly. It seemed that he would attack directly next moment. When you were here, you had a big fight with the people of the Beast Gate, and finally you went to various places through the teleportation array. In fact, originally only relying on the destruction of the transmission array by the Beast Gate, you may not fall somewhere, or even enter the turbulent flow of time and space. The Wood Emperor slowly opened his mouth and said everything he had arranged. At that time, I saw that you were extraordinary and could fight as hard as the Shangguan. The most important thing was that you dared to provoke one woman, and you knew their identity but didn't feel afraid at all. I felt very surprised, so I helped you when you were about to have an accident. Let's see. I think maybe you are the saviors of the world of Mudu. Long Qingxia didn't speak, because he knew that what the Wooden Emperor said was probably right. At the beginning, there was a problem with the call formation, which he could not control himself. In the end, several people came back safe and sound. He had suspected that someone had done it secretly, but he didn't think that this man was the Wooden Emperor, who didn't officially meet until today. For a moment, the hostility of the dragon became weaker. Cloud Dance bowed his head and thought about the process of meeting Mu Xiaoming, and what Mu Xiaoming had said to himself before. So he said, So you did something to ensure the safety of several of us, and at the same time sent us to various places for training. All those places are dangerous, and danger and opportunity coexist. So you're waiting for us to come back one day, and you'll be able to take revenge on the world of Mudu for your part? That's right. Mu Huang's tone suddenly excited. In fact, it's not all revenge for us. We are not the only ones who do evil deeds. Many races hate them to the bone. You are also on the opposite side of them. You must have killed them with the intention of destroying them. I have observed for a long time, and finally understand that you are the real leader of this team. Yunwu's eyes and the Wood Emperor's direct vision clearly face a superior emperor. But Yunwu's momentum is not inferior to him. You have talent, strength, and the most important thing is your heart. You hate all kinds of beasts. So I let my only adopted son get close to you, then guide you to make progress slowly, and finally come back here to get together with my friends. I only hope to see you destroy the Beast Gate with my own eyes one day. Cloud Dance's vision flashed. In the heart suddenly to the Wood Emperor several sent admire. I didn't expect that the Mu Huang in the world of Mudu would still have such a mind. Now there is only a wisp of ghost left, but he still keeps the hatred of the people in mind. He trusts her so much that he presses the future on her. Don't worry, I will completely destroy the Beast Gate. Cloud Dance says coldly, the vision is very firm. But Mu Huang shook his head and said, If you want to destroy the Beast Gate, you need to gather the power of the 5 natures. Now I've got 4 of the 5 forces of nature, and I believe I'll get the last one soon. Yunwu turns to Lin Yuntong. She is Xueyin's mother. When she is sent to Xueyin, the 5 forces of nature will be able to gather together. But then, Mu Huang poured a basin of cold water on her head. You haven't got the complete 4. The rattan flower is incomplete. When they were stunned, the Shangguan first reacted and said, Wow! It can't be true. Incomplete? I said. Why are you so immoral that you don't send a complete one even if you send it out? Half a free? What about the other half? Cloud Dance raised a hand to interrupt the words of the superior officer. The vision looks at the Wood Emperor in front and asks, "What do you mean by this?" Mu Huang's eyes looked into the distance. Some could not bear to say the following words. "Do you have a warcraft named Seaton? You summon him first." Everyone looked at Mu Huang curiously. Didn't they say something about the flower of Muteng? How come it's about Shiting again? Does Shiting know where half of the rattan flowers are? There was a premonition in Yunwu's heart. He hesitated a little, and didn't know whether he should call him out. "Master, let me out." Shiting's voice sounded in the sea of knowledge, incomparably calm and calm. Cloud Dance alung. How to listen to the voice of Shitung? It seems that he knows what, General? If you really know why you have to hide it from yourself? Think of the time when Shiting was contracted, and think about Shiting's attitude for such a long time. Yunwu thinks that his master is really unqualified. Is Shiting afraid that he always has some bad feelings in his heart, or even never really identifies with himself? All kinds of thoughts flashed in my heart. Yunwu finally called Shiting out. The light of the call array flickered, and then Shiting's figure appeared in front of the crowd. Then he went to Yunwu and called "Master" to Yunwu. Cloud Dance nodded. Turned to look at the Wood Emperor, asked. I called out, "You can tell me what is going on?" The Wood Emperor looked at Shitung, then his eyes lit up and said with a smile, "Yes, that's him." Everyone was at a loss. What was the Emperor doing? It's so mysterious. Shangguan couldn't keep his breath any longer. When he heard this kind of words, he was annoyed. So he directly asked, "Hey, I'm talking about you. What's the relationship between you and him in the end? You say don't talk so much, okay?" The Mu Emperor ignored the words of the superior officer directly, turned to look at Yunwu, and said, "The boundary of Mu Du has always regarded the flower of Mu Tung as a sacred object. Only the highest ruler of Mu Du could have it and protect it. But hundreds of years ago, there was a big war in the border of Mudu. At that time, the Mu Huang used the power of the flower of rattan to end the war, but for some reasons, the flower of rattan was also damaged, and finally divided into two. Half of them disappeared, while the other half remained in the border of Mudu. For hundreds of years, what we have guarded in the world of Mudu is the half flower of rattan. As for the other half, Cloud Dance in the heart move, in the heart a surprise guess what, but still open mouth to ask. The other half turned into human form, right?" As soon as the words came out, the Wood Emperor did not respond, but the other people directly exclaimed, "What?" Everyone said with one voice, shocked eyes instantly on the body of Shitung. "In the past, I didn't feel much when I was fighting. I just felt that the power of elements on Shiting was special, and it seemed to be very strong. But now Shiting seems to be the other half of the rattan flower." Shiting stood there quietly looking around. Since he was born, he was very confused about his life experience. He knew that he was Warcraft, but what was Numenon? Now I know, but suddenly I feel relieved. He is the summoner of Cloud Dance. He knows what he may face next, but he has no way. What he can do now is to stand here quietly, waiting for Yunwu's next command. In fact, he knew why he needed to be himself from the moment when he was asked to come out. That's right. Mu Huang nodded. Give Cloud Dance a positive answer. They all looked at Shiting standing there in disbelief. For a moment, they had mixed feelings. The vision is changing between Shiting and Yunwu. Half a rattan flower can't open the boundary layer of the beast gate, can it? Lin Yuntong asked. Yes. Mu Huang gave a positive answer. The power of half a rattan flower, it's too small. Everyone looked at each other. It seems that if you want to give full play to the power of the flower of rattan, you have to restore the flower of rattan first. Finally, Shangguan asked, "Well, how can the flowers of rattan be restored to their original appearance?" Mu Huang looked at the Cloud Dance that had not spoken since then. The words in his mouth were extremely cruel. "I need your Warcraft heart." This time, no one said anything, and the atmosphere became much heavier. Mu Xiaoming pursed his lips and stood beside Mu Huang. Looking at the Cloud Dance standing in front of him without saying a word, he suddenly felt sad. Although he didn't know Yunwu for a long time, he had a thorough understanding of the nature of Yunwu. Although Yunwu is not soft on the enemy, and doesn't like to talk, and doesn't even smile much, as long as she is identified as a partner, she is really in the heart. The relationship between Yunwu and her warcraft is just like the relationship between him and Xiaosha, and even more profound. At this time, it needs her warcraft heart. Mu Xiaoming didn't turn his head. He didn't have the heart to see Cloud dance. Even if there is a little other way. After a bit of thinking, Mu Xiaoming thought about whether he could do it if he was himself and Xiaosha. Everyone did not speak. Everyone held their breath. Even Shangguan, who always loved to speak, closed his mouth. His sight was wavering between Yunwu and Shiting. The life of warcraft is important, but it's also important to destroy the Gate of Beasts. But kill your own warcraft in order to destroy the Gate of Beasts. There was only one thought in everyone's mind. This problem is too difficult. The only thing that can make a decision is Cloud dance. Master. Seeing that all the people were silent, Shiting stepped forward and came to Yunwu. Yunwu looked up at the person standing in front of him, with calm eyes. The beast men are extremely hateful. If they don't get rid of them, there will be great disaster in the future. Shiting light said hair. As if he said is very far away from their own things in general. But anyone can hear it. What Shiting means is to let Yunwu choose to give up him. Don't give up the long-standing confrontation with the Beast Gate, just because of this. Cloud Dance's eyes flashed slightly, reached out and patted Shiting on the shoulder, and said, "Your idea is good, and you know the overall situation very well." The corner of Shiting's mouth is hooked, showing a smile. But the depth of the eyes is still lonely down, just cover up very well. No one found it. There was also a sense of loneliness in everyone's heart. Sure enough, Xiaowu still chose to give up Shiting also. After all, it's a big deal to deal with the Beast Gate. How can you give up so easily? The life of Shiting is lighter than that of thousands of creatures in the world. Almost everyone's heart flashed such an idea. Only Dragon Qing Evil a person did not agree to see Cloud dance. Then he closed his eyes and fell asleep. As if Yunwu had nothing to do with him. Now that it's decided, let's start as soon as possible. Mu Huang was also very shocked, but he took it for granted. Originally, he thought that Yunwu would hesitate for a while. At first, he must have disagreed with Yunwu. Then after his persuasion, he finally agreed. But now it seems that the Cloud dance is really decisive. In order to destroy the Beast Gate, it gives up its own warcraft. Yunwu raised his right hand and turned it over. A box appeared in the palm of his hand. It was the box that Mu Xiaoming used when he gave it to her. After that, he never changed the place. Cloud Dance heart read a move. The box opened. The flowers inside the rattan immediately sent out a strong wood elements. In an instant, people felt as if there were infinite vitality in the surrounding environment. With a wave of his hand, the Wood Emperor wrapped the crowd in a barrier, and the rich wood element never sent out again. This rattan flower is also the target of the Beast Gate. You'd better be careful. Mu Huang said, "My barrier can support at least 2 hours. It's enough for you. If the people of the Beast Gate can't find it, you can start directly." The Wood Emperor's words all listen to then understand. Only afraid today is the death time of Shitung. Cloud Dance light of Saw Wood Emperor one eye say, "That starts." Shiting consciously stepped forward and untied his clothes. Facing Yunwu, he raised his head slightly and closed his eyes. The next moment is probably the most important one in his life. Cloud Dance holding rattan, constantly let it in the hands of rotation. Eyes on the heart of Shiting position, thoughtful. I don't know if it's because of the induction. The light green light around the rattan flower symbolizes infinite vitality. After the appearance of Shiting, people found that the location of Shiting's heart seemed to be flickering with green light, which seemed to echo with the flower of rattan. It's really the flower of the other half of the rattan. Shangguan exclaimed. Originally, I wanted to use the reason that maybe Shiting is not the flower of rattan, to prevaricate the past, but the clinker appeared. Now there is no doubt in people's hearts. Just when everyone was wondering if they wanted to stop what might happen next, Yunwu's palm moved, and the rattan flower flew directly to Shiting in front of everyone. Everyone was stunned. What's the matter? Shouldn't it be to take out Shiting's heart? How can the flower of rattan fly toward Shiting? Mu Huang was also surprised. He thought that something had gone wrong and said, "What's the matter? Is something wrong?" Cloud Dance's mouth a hook, clear voice resounded in everyone's ears. The tone is very firm. "My partner, how can die in my hand?" Yunwu's words are confused. It's clear that Shiting has already said that he is willing to sacrifice. Why until this time? People think carefully and find that, from beginning to end, Yunwu has not said that he will let Shiting sacrifice. What do you mean by that? Mu Huang looked at her in shock. You know, the only way to break the defense of the Beast Gate is to gather the power of the 5 natures. If you can't break the defense, you will never be able to destroy the Beast Gate, and you will never be able to get back the revenge of killing the family in the world of Mudu. He put all his hopes on Yunwu. Is he going to lose here in the end? I watched the flower of rattan fly toward Shiting, and crossed an arc in the mid-air. Finally, when I came into contact with the light in the heart of Shiting, the 2 kinds of light merged into one. No. Mu Huang opened his eyes and wanted to stop, but he was just a ghost. Even if he had time, he had no ability to do it. Finally, the light of the flower of rattan and the light of Shiting merged into one, and then directly melted into Shiting's body in front of the public. In an instant, the green light is in full bloom, and the rich wood elements are emitted. This is the power of a complete rattan flower. Compared with just now, the concentration of wood elements is almost like 2 worlds. Even a few people who are not summoners feel the change of wood elements in the air. Fortunately, there is a boundary set by the Wood Emperor. Otherwise, this concentration will be emitted, not to mention the people of the Beast Gate. I'm afraid Warcraft will attract a lot of people. When the light dissipated, the wood element finally stopped emitting, but the smell that had just been emitted in the air did not disperse for a long time. Shiting looks at Yunwu in shock. Some can't believe it. Master, you. Yunwu raised his hand and waved it casually, saying, "Absorb it. You are a complete flower of rattan." Everyone can't believe their ears. Unexpectedly, in the face of such a big problem, Yunwu can still attach so much importance to emotion, and there is no hesitation between the actions. Everyone's face showed a surprised application. Only the corner of Dragon's mouth. That's exactly what he expected. Originally, he thought Cloud Dance refused, but he didn't expect Cloud Dance to cut off other possibilities in such a crisp way, and let others have no way to persuade her. The little guy is really smart. He is worthy of being a man of the heart. Long Qingxia thought with pride in his heart. Looking at the people around, none of them even guessed the idea of Cloud Dance. The dragon was more proud in his heart, and even the radiant of his mouth was bigger. "Why are you doing this?" Mu Huang murmured. A touch of sadness flashed in his eyes. "Do you know that the only way to open the gate of 10,000 beasts is to gather the 5 elements? Now you integrate the rattan flower into his body, and he is an independent individual, and can no longer integrate with the other 4 elements. You alas." Mu Huang shook his head. He thought that Yunwu wanted Shiting to absorb the power of rattan flower, and then merge with the other 4 elements. It was just an unintentional mistake. But Yunwu's next words shocked him even more. "I know," Cloud Dance Light said, "because he has been an independent individual, with his own thoughts and life, so I can't decide his fate for him. What's more, he is my partner, and I will never let my partner sacrifice in vain." Yunwu's eyes are firm and her tone is beyond doubt. "Well said." Shangguan clapped his hands, looked at Yunwu with bright eyes, and said, "This is the little 5 we know." Their relationship with Shiting was not good, and they were also entangled in their hearts just now. But things happened so fast that they didn't even have time to tangle up with a result, so Yunwu made the action directly. It was all too fast, but it also showed that Yunwu didn't even have time to hesitate. "Thank you, Master." Shiting Shua knelt down on the ground and saluted the Cloud Dance heavily. When he finally worshipped, he had to lie on the ground for a long time before he got up. When I raised my head, I was indifferent on my face, but there was something different in my eyes when I looked at Yunwu. "Go back first," Cloud Dance said. Then let Shiting go back to the space first. Shiting left, and everyone looked at each other. Although the cloud dance's behavior is very shocking and moving, but the problem is the most critical. Mu Huang frowned and looked at Yunwu, with obvious displeasure in his eyes. You gave up the chance to deal with the beast gate. Mu Huang's voice is very dignified, can let people clearly feel his displeasure. I just gave up the rattan flower. Cloud Dance looked at Mu Huang's eyes and looked at him fearlessly. It's just a layer of defense. Even without the flower of rattan, as long as the strength is strong enough, it can still break it. Mu Huang frowned. Strong enough. How strong do you want to be? Do you think your Wuling strength is powerful? It's so hard to deal with Shangguan Li, not to mention other people. Don't forget. Among all the beasts, there is a Shangguan tomb. Cloud Dance lightly glances at him one eye. Don't agree to this kind of words. Wuling is not powerful enough. Cloud Dance murmured. But one day, I will reach that height. It's enough to break the defense of the Beast Gate, and kill the most powerful man in the Beast Gate by hand. Clearly is a very flat tone. But I do not know why, said from the mouth of Cloud Dance. It is inexplicably exciting. Mu Huang's heart trembled, and he looked at the woman again. A beautiful face, even if it is said so openly, but as if just casually said, a homely face without any pride or conceit, not to mention discouraged or inferiority. Only a pair of eyes bright amazing, flashing a firm light. I don't know why, Mu Huang suddenly felt that one day, this Cloud Dance can really be as powerful as she said. Alas. After a while Mu Huang sighed and said, it's all destiny. Well, who let me bet on you? Cloud Dance looked at him suspiciously, didn't understand what he said. Father you. Mu Xiaoming frowned and looked at Mu Huang. He was worried, that thing. The Wood Emperor white he one eye, impatient of say. No, I won't give. Hearing this, Mu Xiaoming finally laughed and said, I don't mean that. I just want to remind you. Cut elbow out. The Wood Emperor said again. Then, when the palm is extended, a green light flashes in the palm, and finally condenses into a green light, as if the previous light is locked in it. Yunwu and others curiously looked at the things in Mu Huang's hand. Although they didn't know what it was, they knew it must be a good thing at a glance. The light gradually becomes more and more solid, and finally condenses a green pendant in the hands of Mu Huang. That appearance, unexpectedly, and Cloud Dance in the hand of several other pendants almost the same. Green pendant. Cloud Dance surprised said. I didn't expect that this trip to the world of Woody Capital was really right. Originally, it was just to look for the flowers of Woody Vine, but now, even the green pendant is in the hands of the Woody Emperor. Mu Huang chuckled and said, you must be looking for this too? Cloud Dance calmed the excitement in the heart said, yes, this thing is also what I need. Mu Huang raised his hand, and let the pendant float in his hand. He was not afraid of the clouds, so he put it in his palm. Soft eyes looking at the green pendant. It's the most precious thing in the world of Mu Du apart from the flowers of Mu Tung. It's the most precious. I always take it with me and seldom show it to outsiders. Cloud Dance's eyes flashed slightly. After thinking about it for a while she said, I need 4 natural forces together, so I need this green pendant very much. If I can, I'm willing to exchange it with you. Or it can be borrowed temporarily. When I use it up in the future, it will be returned to its original owner. This words Wood Emperor but roared with laughter. Ha ha ha, you are a little fellow, but you are not so easy to be favored. Mu Huang raised his hand and stroked his beard and said, since I have taken him out, I can give it to you. It's just not a change or a loan. If you want it, I'll give it to you directly. With a wave of the Wood Emperor's hand, the green pendant crossed an arc in the air and flew straight to the cloud. Yunwu reaches out and catches the pendant steadily. When he starts, the strong force of wood strikes. It can be seen that the pendant must be real. Yunwu is not polite and receives it directly into the space. Write more about Mu Huang, and please rest assured that one day, I will destroy the Beast Gate and avenge the world of Mu Du. Ha ha ha. Mu Huang laughed wildly again and said, you little guy, although you have a bad attitude, I like your temper. A man who values emotion, righteousness and firmness of heart will make a great achievement. This time, I will lay all my bets on you. I hope that one day, when you destroy the Beast Gate, you can also wake me up from my deep sleep. As for my adopted son, I will stay with you. I wish you a helping hand." Having said that, Mu Huang kindly turned his head and looked at Mu Xiaoming beside him, and said, "Son, you also need to refuel." Mu Xiaoming moved in his heart and nodded hard. The Wood Emperor just smiled a little. The body slowly becomes transparent, finally turn into a ray of light to flash into the wood to repair a piece of jade that Ming's neck hangs. Mu Xiaoming reached out and touched the jade plate where the spirit of Mu Huang was placed. He murmured, "Father, wait for me. I will find a way to repair my soul. I wish you a new life." Long Qingxia frowned. Although he was grateful for Mu Huang's generosity in his heart, he was upset at the thought that Mu Xiaoming had been told to stay with Yunwu. "I didn't expect that Mu Huang was so generous. You gave the flower of Mu Teng to Shiting, but he was not angry." Lin Yuntong sighed and said, "In the heart also had some admiration to the Wooden Emperor." Yunwu nodded and thought the same. In fact, before she did that, it was just to block other people's way and let them stop thinking about cheating. The flowers of rattan are their things, but her own way is not right after all. "Don't say that. Let's find a place to settle down first. The flowers of rattan are gone. We have to discuss the next action." Cloud Dance said thoughtfully. They all nodded and looked at the surrounding environment of Mudu. Thinking of the inn they had stayed in before, they decided to go back first. After all, it was the nearest inn to here. After the decision, they immediately set out to the inn. Before long, the party had arrived at the inn where they had stayed. At this time, the inn has been empty, dilapidated, leaving only tables, chairs, benches, and empty counters. Shangguan first came in and looked around. He could not help sighing. "I didn't expect that when I came here again it was like this." A group of people walked in and put the two big tables together. A large group of people sat down around the table. Cloud Dance pondered for a moment, then began to say, "Since we finally get together, then the business should be put in front." After a few words, everyone calmed down, turned his head and looked at the Cloud Dance. Suddenly, the atmosphere became more serious. "At present, we have grown a lot, and we have made breakthroughs. Although we have just met again, it is a pity that we will be separated again soon after." All of them were stunned for a moment, and then they were all silent. "This time, I'm going to join forces to expel the people of the Beast Gate." Yunwu was silent for a moment and sighed heavily. "We need to go away to all forces, invite all forces to join our camp, and destroy the Beast Gate together." We all sighed, looked at each other, some bitter in the heart, but what can we do? Such a heavy past makes us more cherish our friends and brothers, but also more understand our mission. That. Mu Xiaoming suddenly made a sound, interrupted Yunwu's words, raised his head and looked around. For a long time, I finally laughed, and I laughed miserably. Maybe I have some miserably here. Scratching his head, he saw that the people around him were full of tenderness and smile. He suddenly sighed and said, "I can use my identity as a young lord to summon the people scattered around the world because of the destruction of my family. Maybe not many people, but I believe they will fight for revenge." Cloud Dancer listened, the corners of the mouth hook up a faint smile. That smile, beautiful to let a person suffocate. "That good, that please you. Where are you going next?" Yunwu looked around and saw that all the friends around frowned and pondered. He said, "Well, this trip, we'll go together in a group of two. On the one hand, we need to go to many places, so we must not delay on the road. On the other hand, our realm has been improved so high that it's not a problem for two people to go to one place. So, after careful consideration, it seems that there is no opinion. Because I need Long Qingxia to accompany me to untie the Dharma array that trapped the fire beast, so I will go to the top of the volcano with Long Qingxia. And then I will go to the human world, and he will set up the transmission array for each place." Yunwu turns her head and looks at Long Qingxi. Long Qingxi looks at her with a gentle smile. Over there, Qi's looked at Meng Bai, bowed his head and pondered for a moment, and said, "Let's go to the top of the desert with Meng Bai. After all, we come from the direction of the desert, and have helped the people there. I've inquired about it. It's very close to the top of the desert. We've met other tribes on the way of training, so we can convince them together. The top of the desert. Cloud Dance frowned and thought about it, and said, I'm afraid you may not be able to succeed. After all, it's no matter where it is. Now I don't know what it is like. Why don't you go to the 2 tribes you've been to first, and don't go to the top of the desert for the time being? I'll meet you when I finish dealing with the top of the volcano. Yunwu's words are reasonable. After all, she has established her own team on the top of the desert, so she is very clear about the situation there. Qi Yi's and Meng Bai looked at each other and nodded. Although they are all Emperor Wu, they are still a little uneasy at the top of the desert. Then Nanganji and I will go to the 2 tribes we have been to. Shangguan said that he took a light look at Nanganji, but see South Palace, he also saw him one eye, didn't express what, just hang down 2 eyes, silently expressed to agree. 2 people in the heart have some helpless, did not expect to just leave from there not long to go back. Situlan was very helpless and said with a bitter smile, since you have all gone to these places, I will go to Wengo Island for a try. The islanders there once asked me to help her solve a crisis. Their strength is not bad. Maybe they can help us. Well, that's a deal. Cloud Dance turns his head, looks at Lin Yuntong beside him and says, I said I would take you to find Xueyin, so you should follow me for a while. As soon as the words of Clinker and Cloud Dance are finished, Dragon Qingxia on the other side is not happy. He still wants to take the opportunity to live in the world of 2 people. Xueyin is in the headquarters of the Beast Gate. Even if she follows us, can you promise to take her there? This words Cloud Dance can't help but frown. This is indeed a big problem. It was an accident to see Xueyin at the beginning. Now it's really difficult to see Xueyin again. Why don't you just let her stay? I think it must be very hard for this boy to gather the residual strength in the world of Mudu. Why don't you just let her stay and help? Long Qingxia smiles at Lin Yuntong and says. Lin Yuntong alone, looking at the Long Qingxia's appearance, then understood what he meant. It seems that if he followed, it was really eye-catching. At that moment I had no choice but to shake my head and say, I'll stay. Mu Xiaoming gritted his teeth and glared at Long Qingxia. I make complaints about the world of 2 people. What's the big deal? If he wasn't really short of hands, he would want to follow him directly. So can I, master? 2 voices said in one voice. Cloud Dance alone. Immediately after the call a ray of flash, small stink and red fire dragon figure appeared in front of everyone. Mama, I can go home to find my mother, and let her worry about the power of the Phoenix family. The Beast Gate is so hateful that they have long wanted to fight with it. Little Stinky waved his fist and gritted his teeth. Master, I can go back to the Dragon Clan and persuade them. Red Fire Dragon stands beside Little Stink, eyes firm say. Their status in the clan is not low. If they can stand up now, it will have a great effect. Yunwu nodded and said okay. Then I'll give you 2 days to be fully prepared, and then I'll set off immediately and go to various forces. I hope you can get something. Look at the sky, it's very late, a bright moon hanging in the air, quite a bit of parting, which makes everyone feel sad. It's too late. The inn is no longer run, so we can only be self-sufficient. Shangguan touched his stomach and said, After all, we haven't eaten for a whole day. Now we are too hungry to stand up. Situlan looked at Shangguan helplessly and said to everyone, Otherwise, we'll go to prepare dinner now. As soon as I heard the dinner, everyone's eyes lit up. They could not help touching their stomachs and licking their mouths. I'll get some game and come here. Who are you going to fight the fire? Shangguan said with a smile. He jumped out of the stool excitedly and ran to the forest at night. He disappeared in an instant. Oh, wait for me. I'll go too. Mu Xiaoming yelled and ran to the dark forest in pursuit of Shangguan. She got up coldly in the night and went to the kitchen of the inn to have a look. He came out and said, There are firewood and pots here. Don't worry. There are quilts and pillows in the room above. Upstairs, Ming Bai, who didn't know when to go upstairs, said with a smile. The atmosphere suddenly relaxed. The breeze was gentle and cool. Nangongyi sighed and walked out of the inn. Standing under the faint light curtain from the inn, he looked at the sky and said nothing. Qi Yi's, who is preparing to sit down in the room, looks at the white clothes like snow standing outside the inn. He is slightly stunned. He quietly walks out of the inn and stands beside Nangongyi. What are you looking at? Qi Nightlight asked, in different tone. Let the sight of Nangongyi turned his head, looked at her, and raised his head lightway. Look at the moon. The moon is round today. Qi Yi's also looked up at the moon hanging in the sky. It's like the moon of the Zhou dynasty. Nangongyi carries her hands, and her clothes are moved by the breeze. You miss home. Qi Yi smiles a little. The smile on Qi Yi's face is rare. Nangongyi lowered his head and looked at Qi Yi's. The expression on his face was gentle. Will you come back safely? Maybe he didn't expect Nangongyi to ask suddenly. Qi Yi seemed very surprised. After a long time he nodded. That's nature. Nangongyi keeps looking up at the moon. I didn't expect you to be such a man like a god's mansion. Qi Knight suddenly prays, let Nangongyi lung for a long time, and then pursed his mouth, did not speak. Will you come back safely? Qi Nightlight said, did not look at Nangongyi, but the eye is a little red. Take care. Don't worry. Nangongyi lowers his head, fingers gently across Qi Yi's eyes, seems to want to touch her nose, but Lung, put it down again, sighed, never say a word more. This was full of reunion atmosphere of the full moon night, but suddenly full of sad parting. Immersed in sadness, they were suddenly interrupted by a cry. I hit the hare. Shangguan laughed and came to us with Mu Xiaoming, holding 4 or 5 rabbits in his hands. That would be wonderful. Situlan came out of the inn with a smile, took the hare from Shangguan and Mu Xiaoming, and went to the inn. After a while, Mengbai suddenly came in with several jars of good wine, and put them on the table. Immediately attracted everyone's attention. Ah, where did you get this wine? Is there anyone else around here? Just then Mengbai laughed. I've seen the bartender go under the tree to get the wine, so I remember that just now everyone was busy, so I went to dig out these jars of wine. Once can think of the past, can't help but let everyone feel sad. Silent for a moment. Mu Xiaoming's eyes turned red and sighed. Yes, once it was a prosperous city, and the inn was full of people. And at this time, looking at the empty inn with only a few of them, it's really bad in my heart. It seems to feel the sadness of Mu Xiaoming. Yunwu comes forward and pats Mu Xiaoming on the shoulder. His eyes are very firm. You must believe that we will give you revenge for your country and family. Mu Xiaoming was so moved that he quickly opened the wine jar. In an instant, the smell of wine came to his nostrils. All over the inn. I poured a bowl of wine for each of you, asked you to hold the glass together, and said, it's unfortunate that my country will perish, but it's my greatest luck to meet you. Let's take the bowl and pour the wine. When the cool wind blows, everyone feels comfortable. Shangguan sighed and sat on the edge of the table, looking at the scenery outside. The scenery of the boundary of the wood capital has always been so beautiful. Everyone around us drank wine bowl after bowl, and talked about the past and future. It seemed that the inn had become a happy place again, although there were only a few of them. Little one. Long Qingxia suddenly came to Yunwu's ear, spitting hot air at Yunwu's ear, with the smell of wine and the evil smile, which made the temperature of the whole inn rise abruptly. I think we should spend time together. After all, we have to leave so long, don't you think? Cloud dance a little smile, touch a little hot face sigh. Accompany me to go out for a walk. He turned to the crowd and said, let's go for a walk. Remember to call me when the hare is ready. After that, take the lead out of the inn gate. Situlan patted his forehead and said, look at me, I forgot about the hare. Wait for me to roast the hare. Then he ran to the kitchen. Shangguan also stood up, ran to the kitchen and yelled, wait for me, I'll help you. In less than half an hour, the delicious smell of barbecue came out from the kitchen, and everyone felt their stomachs growling. They couldn't wait for Situlan to take the roasted rabbit to the table. Mu Xiaoming ran out, and called Yunwu and Longqingxi. They sat together again, tearing the barbecue on the table. I wish I could live such a wonderful life all the time. Mengbai sighed. But we have a heavy responsibility. We don't know how hard the road is in the future. Such a day, I think we will have it after we defeat the Beast Gate. Qi drank a mouthful of wine and said faintly, the moon has been gradually down, east of the fish belly white. By the time the sun came up, all the people were drunk on the table and had a sweet sleep. The warmth of the morning filled the room. Yunwu opened his eyes, looked at the people around him, rubbed his eyes and walked out of the inn. After a while, everyone had woken up and heard the whispering talk inside. Yunwu walked into the room and looked at everyone. Well, you've started to prepare to leave recently. We can't stay in the wood capital for a long time. We have to find a place to buy things. We can't leave unprepared. Everyone should be one after another, simply clean up a bit, everyone out of the inn, in twos and threes together toward the woods. 2 days passed, and it was time to part. Before dawn, Yunwu came out of the inn. Other people are also immersed in sleep. Cloud Dance turned to see the inn for the last time, lightly toward a direction. Just fly out not far, see in front of a tree. Long Qingxia is lazy, rely on there. Long Qingxia smile face evil for. It's so slow. It seems I've said goodbye to them. Long Qingxia reaches out his hand and embraces the Cloud Dance in his arms. He says with a smile, although they don't need to separate for the moment, when the array at the top of the volcano is released, they will go on their own. So while there are few people now, it's a while to hold more for a while. No one's awake. Cloud Dance Light said, seems to know the Dragon Qing evil mind, but also did not push him away, but said, I always don't like to say goodbye, it's not reunion. Dragon Qing evil mouth hook, know the nature of Cloud Dance, no longer say anything. A handsome face directly approached Yunwu, and Bo stole a fragrance from her face. Let's go. Before the attack of Cloud Dance, the dragon's evil arm tightened, which directly suppressed the action that Cloud Dance could resist. Cloud Dance helplessly shakes his head, freeing himself from Dragon's evil arms, and then summons Jinling out. Master! Jinling shouts to Yunwu, and then directly shows the Numenon, and the huge Pingniao appears in front of them. Long Qingxia didn't wait for Yunwu to move. He reached out to stop her waist and took her to fly up. The two of them sat on Jinling's back. Jinling's wings spread, and they flew straight ahead. From the border of Mudu to the top of the volcano, where the teleportation array had problems, it took Jinling 2 days and 2 nights to reach the border of the top of the volcano. Flint, Yunwu and Yunwu, who had just left, came back here again. Jinling stops in the forest outside Huashe town. Yunwu and Longqingxi come down from his back, and then let Jinling return to his own space. If we can bring Flint Town into our camp, it must be a big help. Cloud Dance looks at the tall gate of Huashe town not far away, and says to the dragon nearby. Long Qingxia hugged the cloud and shook his head with a smile, saying, I think it's difficult. Although Huating attaches great importance to loyalty, the most important thing for him is the thousands of residents in Huashe town. It's a great challenge for him to join us directly. But Hualinger will support you unconditionally. Think of that, in the tomb has been guarding in their own side, has not worried about their own lively girl. Yunwu mouth hook. Although only a few days away, but it seems to have left for a long time. If Hualinger sees himself again, will he be very happy? Come on, let's go in and have a look. Think of these, Cloud Dance some can't wait to say. Originally intended to come out of the tomb will be part of the score to her, but the result is too anxious to forget this stubble. Now I come back, just can thank Hualinger for what he did at the beginning, by the way we'll decide to make up for. Stop. You are from Yulin Town. No entry. Cloud Dance. 2 people haven't reached the gate of the city, suddenly hear the voice coming from the front. So they stop one after another, looking forward to the front. At the gate of the city, a group of soldiers were checking the passing people with weapons in hand, and what they stopped was a group of servants surrounded by a carriage. The servants looked arrogant and domineering. Why don't you let me in? Do you know who's in this car? Zhangde, the rich man of Yulin Town. Why don't you let me in? The group of soldiers on the opposite side remained unmoved. No entry is no entry. As long as you are not from Huashe Town, you are not allowed to enter. Hurry up and go. Cloud Dance, a little surprised to see the dragon around the evil, said, "It seems that we go these days. Flint Town has a big change." Long Qingxia stared at the dispute in front for a long time, and finally said, "It seems that we have to sneak in to find someone. If we rush directly, we will fight." Yunwu nodded, and then walked into the woods with Long Qingxi. The third floor of Chaos Hall opened, and a light white smoke came out, covering their bodies. Soon, Yunwu's figure disappeared in this place, the Lord's mansion of Wuxia Town. Huolinger was anxiously walking around the room, walking back and forth, and his mouth kept saying, "What should I do? What should I do if something happens to Dad? Why am I so useless? How can I delay my father?" After walking for a long time, Huolinger stopped, as if he had made a decision, and said firmly, "No. I must go and have a look, even if I can't help, just in case." With that, Huolinger turned and walked out. At the door, two big men stood on both sides of the door, arms raised, directly blocked the door of the room to death. "Miss," the Lord said, "you can't go out," they said with no expression on their faces. Both of them are Huating's dead men. They only listen to Huating alone, and they are powerful. They will not let Huolinger out easily if they watch Huolinger here under Huateng's command. "Get out of the way, all of you. I'm going to find Daddy," Huolinger said angrily. "I'm the master. You will listen to me, miss. We only listen to the Lord. The Lord asked us to protect you. We must listen," they said coldly, just like two people without feelings. "Dad, it's really dangerous now. You might as well help your father instead of guarding me here," Huolinger roared. They didn't speak anymore, but they stood still, their arms motionless. There was a boarder in the room, and there were two hands at the door, so Huoling couldn't go out at all. Huolinger was so angry that she broke into the two men's bodies, and was pushed back by a force. The strength was not big and didn't hurt her at all, but she couldn't resist it anyway. "Miss, you'd better stay inside. When the Lord comes back, he will let you out," they said. "But Dad is in danger now." Huolinger is hysterical. Seeing that the two people still don't move, Huolinger directly closes the door. With a loud bang, Huolinger sat on the bed angrily. In the room, only Huolinger sat helpless by the bed, worried about the safety of Huating. "If only I had the ability of Sister Yin too." Fire Spirit Sun murmurs of say. The next moment, a long-lost voice sounded in the room. "What's the matter?" Huolinger was stunned and suddenly raised his head to look around the room, but he didn't see Cloud dancing. "Sister Yin?" Huolinger called softly, and his eyes were still looking around. A mass of white smoke slowly appeared at the bedside, and finally became more and more solid. In the smoke, two figures slowly appeared. When the two figures appeared completely, the white smoke wrapped around their bodies gradually dispersed. "Sister Yin!" Huolinger shouts in surprise and pours directly at Yunwu. Yunwu smiles and holds her in her arms. She reaches out and touches her head. His voice was as cold as ever, but he was a little softer in the face of Huolinger. "What happened?" Hearing Yunwu's question, Huolinger no longer cares about the surprise of reunion. He raises his head from Yunwu's arms and says anxiously, "Sister Yin, please help my father." As soon as Huolinger's words came out, Cloud Dance and Dragon Qingxia looked at each other. "It seems that there is something wrong with Wuxia Town. Since you left, I went back to the city, only to find that Wuxia Town was heavily guarded. Later, my father would not let me go out. Until today, I found out that my father was gathering forces secretly. It was like there was a war. I asked a lot of people to know that after my father came back, those people in Yulin Town were jealous of the things in the tomb, and they didn't get any benefits, so they joined hands with other towns to attack us, saying that we colluded with outsiders to take the treasure from the tomb to put out Flint Town and make up for their losses. Cloud Dance eyes a cold. Is Moose City Lord them? Even taking advantage of her leaving to attack Flint Town? It seems that this trip is really timely, but to let those people have a good memory. Where is the Fire Lord now? Long Qingxia interrupts Huolinger's cry and directly asks the most crucial question. In at the top of Warcraft Mountain. Today is the day that Yulin Town declared war. Dad took almost all the soldiers in the city to fight to the death. He also said that I was not allowed to go out, and he gave a death order when he left. If he doesn't come back tonight, let my guards take me out of here, Huolinger said with a cry. It was because of these orders that she was extremely flustered. When she thought of Huoting's general arrangement before leaving, she was inexplicably afraid. Sister Yun, you must save your father. Yunwu and Longqingxi looked at each other, nodded silently and said, Don't worry, we'll go now. After that, he led Huolinger to open the door of the room. The two people guarding outside the door didn't know when there were two more people in the room. They suddenly cheered coldly. Stop! Who are you? Put down the old lady. Yunwu raised his hand and pushed them away with a strong force. He said coldly, I Yunwu want to save your lord now, so don't block those who know each other. After that, he took Huolinger to the direction of Warcraft Mountain. The two gatekeepers were stunned. Cloud Dance? Not the one in the grave the other day? Warcraft Peak. On the top of the whole mountain lie a large number of people, as if they had just experienced a war and were resting. Fire. I advise you not to struggle anymore. Do you really think that with the strength of your Firestone town, you can resist the combined strength of our 5 towns? The main station of Mu City is not far away. Coldly looking at the fire tongue with less than half of the troops left in front, complacently saying, Originally, the war was unfair. Flint fought against so many towns. According to Lord Mu's idea, as long as the two camps come out during the battle, and the gap is so obvious, they randomly stir up the flames to shake the opponent's fighting spirit. Huasher Town will be defeated. The soldiers in Clinker Flint Town don't know what happened, but they seem to be crazy one by one in this adversity. If it wasn't for their large number this time, it would be really hard to distinguish. After several battles, the number of the other side is less than half, but the loss is also heavy. Now that the victory or defeat is almost certain, the Lord of Mu City wants to surrender directly. Otherwise, if he consumes it, he will lose 801,000. Huoting gave a sneer, and his face was splashed with the blood of someone who didn't know. Despicable! Don't ask me to Huoting with your suit. The Lord Mu's face sank suddenly, and he hummed coldly. No tears will fall if you don't see the coffin. In that case, I'll let you die happily. After that, he waved his hand directly, and the soldiers behind him came forward one after another. Another battle broke out on the top of the mountain. Look. It's Daddy Huolinger, Yunwu and Long Qingxia are standing in the air, overlooking the battle below. At this time is the fierce time of the war. A large number of people gathered together, but Huolinger just recognized Huoting's position at a glance. When I saw that Huoting was safe, I was relieved at last. Sister Yin, what should we do? Do you want to go directly to? Huolinger turns his head and looks at the Cloud Dance, some anxiously says. However, the Clinker Cloud Dance shook his head and said, He was caught by Yulin Town because I was involved in the grave. In this case, I can't interfere anymore. What about that? Huolinger asked. Cloud Dance bowed his head to think. Eyes staring at the flaming figure, eyes narrowed, said, I have a way. After that, a white jade card appeared in the palm of the hand. Isn't that the key to the grave? Huolinger exclaimed. Cloud Dance nodded and said, At the beginning, I accepted the inheritance and inherited the tomb. But the power in this jade card is separate and does not belong to the category of inheritance. I haven't had time to absorb those powers, so this jade card is always with me. Do you mean that instead of letting you show up to help Huoting fall into the limelight, it's better to find a way to help him improve his strength, so that even if you leave later, those people in Yulin don't dare to look for trouble anymore? Long Qingxia narrowed his eyes and said the idea of Cloud Dance. That's right. Yunwu nodded. Having said that, Yunwu's heart moved, which directly mobilized the power of the jade plate. A pure power flowed from the jade plate and floated towards the fire below. The power is very small. If you don't look carefully, you can't find it at all. But Yunwu is not satisfied. He directly mobilizes the white fog in the Chaos Palace to wrap the power, and then slightly controls it. Even if you look carefully, you can't see it. That force has been drifting towards the fire. Fire Tung, who is fighting with the Lord of Mu City, was originally not supported because the Lord of Mu City called another person. At this moment, the clinker suddenly felt a force gushing out of his body. When this force touched his body, it consciously fused with the fighting spirit in his body, and instantly added up all the strength he had consumed before. Fire Ting Alung, still don't know how to return a responsibility of time. In the ear suddenly spreads a cool voice. Keep your strength and absorb all the strength. It's enough for you to advance. The cold voice of Cloud Dance was transmitted by internal force, and no one heard it except Huiting and the other two people in the sky. Huiting instantly heard whose voice it was. Who else could it be except Cloud Dance? For some reason, Huiting suddenly became excited, as if a dying man had suddenly found a savior. He knew the strength of Yunwu. As long as Yunwu came, he would be saved, and Huasher Town would be saved. At present, Huiting tries to cover up the ecstasy in his heart, but he is absorbing the power desperately. A long sword stabbed at him from one side. Huiting dodged the attack. Then several successive attacks attacked him, but all of them were avoided. What's the matter? The master of Mu City was surprised. He was just like the end of a crossbow. At this time, he looked more than enough to avoid the attack. How did the Fire Ting suddenly become powerful? Don't worry about him. I think he wants to go all out, said another. Machengza nodded. It's possible, but for the sake of insurance, add other people. After that, he called another city leader. Huiting calmly looks at the three people in front of him. Just now both of them have already worked very hard. Now he has just begun to absorb strength. There is still a little distance from promotion. I'm afraid it's very difficult to deal with it. Let go and I'll help you. The cold voice came again. Huiting took a deep breath. He took the lead in attacking the opposite person. That person sees Fire Tongue to unexpectedly direct to greet to come over, immediately sneer a say. Exceed one's ability. Then the silk is not soft, directly to attack, toward the Fire Tongue hello in the past. Originally thought that Huiting, who was already at the end of the crossbow, would be hit by himself. But unexpectedly, this attack contains a powerful force. When the two forces collide, the city leader will be hit directly. Above the sky, Cloud Dance lightly takes back his hand, glances at the city lord who has been hit and flies, and continues to look at the battle situation below. What's the matter? Why has he suddenly become so strong? Another city leader is also flustered, so it is not the end of the storm at all. In the heart of Lord Mu, it seems that the Fire Tongue on the opposite side is getting stronger and stronger. Is it a secret skill? In this world, there are some secret arts that can improve people's strength in a short time, but all of these secret arts have sequelae, but they have to be used when it comes to life and death. He must have used some secret arts. There is a time limit for them. Let's hold him down first. Machengza made a quick decision. This words another city lord also nodded. However, Huiting did not intend to delay. As time goes on, Huiting's strength becomes stronger and stronger. Later, only relying on the master of Mu City, they are not his opponents at all. The war situation changed so fast that the Lord Mu called all the other lords to deal with him. Yunwu stood in the sky and helped from time to time. All the people who were hurt by her were basically seriously injured, and had no combat effectiveness in a short time. If you are free, take care of other situations. Don't let Firestone die too much. Cloud Dance looks at a side-idle boring dragon to pour evil to say. Long Qingxia stretched out his hand to yawn and said, I'm afraid I'll crush all the shrimps with my hand. Having said that, Long Qingxia raised his hand and released his strength. Yunwu promptly mobilized the white smoke on the third floor of Chaos Hall to help Long Qingxia cover the movement. Little by little, finally, the strength of Huiting seems to have reached the peak, and can no longer rise. Lord Mu felt the strength of Huiting, and he couldn't help but feel a little pleased. It seems that it's time for the secret arts. I'm afraid that he will return to his original strength next time. If you insist on it for a while, you will soon win. Several city masters seemed to see the hope in general, quickly nodded. But the next moment, their hopes were dashed. Above the sky, The sky was black and clear, but in a short period of time, it turned into thunderous bursts, and the thunder and lightning in the sky seemed to come down at any time. Thunderbolt! It's thunder robbery! Someone is going to break through! Someone exclaimed, and then everyone was looking around, looking for the figure to break through. Cloud Dance mouth a hook heart. Finally to break through. Then the whole jade plate flew towards the fire. Huoting's eyes are cold, and the jade plate falls into Huoting's arms. And then, he didn't sit down to accept the thunder robbery. On the contrary, he looked at the city master Mu and others and said with a sneer, Emperor Wu, after all, I arrived first. But I'd like to share this with you. Mu City Lord, a few people alone still don't understand is what meaning see the air bang of a thunderfall, direct to Fire Ting hit up. Fire Ting body movement, speed to the extreme, the thunder also towards him in the past. Huoting rushes to the Lord of Mu City quickly. Before the thunder falls, he grabs the Lord of Mu City's arm. At this time, the thunder and lightning boom directly split on Huoting's body, and the Lord of Mu City around him was covered up in the thunder. Huoting, who has reached the peak of Wuzong, will not be afraid of thunder, but the Lord Mu is just an ordinary Wuzong strongman. How can I bear it? At present, after a thunderbolt, the Lord of Mu only felt as if he could die at any time. Fire Ting mouth a hook, and then follow suit, caught several city masters in a row. Where the thunder passed, all of them dodged away, for fear that they would be killed by the thunder. This Fire Tung, the courage is really big, and the original you have a fight. Long Qingxia tut said. Cloud Dance satisfaction watching Fire Tung's action. Until thunder robbed more than half, finally completely put down the heart. The end is doomed. You don't have to worry about it anymore. After hearing this, Huolinger finally breathed a sigh of relief. The whole person seemed to collapse and fell on Yunwu. Come on, let's get her back first. Cloud Dance looking at to fall in the bosom already nervous excessive faint of fire spirit son. To the side of the dragon poor evil to say. Long Qingxia nodded. And then they went to Huo Shizhen together. This side has just experienced a big war, and other people's rallying actions have also been launched separately. The closest to the boundary of Mudu is the Phoenix clan, so the first one to arrive is Xiaoqiu. The golden phoenix is flying in the air. Before reaching the gate of the Phoenix family, the people of the Phoenix family have been informed that the gate of the whole Phoenix family has been opened one after another, waiting for the arrival of Little Stink. All the way unimpeded came to the main hall of the Phoenix. Feng Huangnu already excited tears. See the figure of Small Stink fly down. Will Small Stink into his arms. Child, you can make me want to die so long, are you okay? Mother, I miss you so much. Small Stink directly into his mother's arms. Rub. Mother, really miss you. We haven't seen each other for a long time. Feng Huangnu was so excited that she stroked her head and said, How can she come back suddenly? Isn't he following the priest? Little Smelly then raised his head, looked at his mother's big watery eyes and begged, Mother, I have something to do this time. Feng Huangnu lowered her head, gently looked at the Small Stink, reached out and touched her head. My child is really grown up. Mother, I'm here to ask you this time. Little Stinky stood upright and looked around at the elders. He said solemnly, Mother, I want you to agree with this matter. I'm afraid this matter is related to the future of our family, and the suffering we have suffered. Feng Huangnu bowed her head, and thought for a while. Her expression became serious and she went back to her position. You say it. Mother, I'd like to ask you to agree to support us in attacking the Beast Gate. As soon as they heard the Beast Gate, all the people on the scene opened their eyes and looked at the serious Little Stink in front of them. After a long time, they realized that she was not joking, and everyone began to talk about it. Boy, you mean you're going to attack the Beast Gate? Feng Huang's voice obviously with excitement. Some can't believe asked. Small Stinky looking at in front of Feng Huang's excited expression. Heart already know. Yes, we decided to formally declare war with the Beast Door. With that, Xiao Smelly said all the things that happened in this period of time. When he finished, Feng Huang stood up and walked up and down in front of her seat, her face flushed with excitement. Great, great! I Phoenix family can get revenge at last. Children, listen, as long as it's the priest's order, We Phoenix will obey it. Little Stinky stood under the stairs, looking at Feng Huang's excited appearance. He also clenched his fists, smiling eyes curved. At this time Situlan, who had already arrived at Wingo Island, was full of thoughts. After leaving that day, Situlan didn't want to return here. However, he still chose to come back here. Maybe there will be a chance for him to get the help of Wingo Island. Maybe Song Huanxiang will make him pay something for blackmail. With this in mind, Situlan coughed twice and was in a bit of a dilemma. He stood at the entrance of Wenge Island for a long time and hesitated to go in. However, such a suspicious person attracted the attention of the guards. 2 or 3 guards came towards Situlan. Who are you? Why linger here? Situlan Lung did not respond to come over. Was 2 guards a hold down a wry smile, give up resistance, let 2 people will arm back in the back. Say who are you? A guard pointed a long gun at Situlan and angrily scolded him. I don't know. Situlan seemed to be in a bit of a dilemma. He hesitated for a long time and then said, I'm here to see you from the island master. From the islander? From the island master. You said that you could see it as soon as you saw it? The guard seemed very angry and held his arm tighter. He took a cold breath but said, It's a good thing that you are so dedicated, but if you treat a person like this, you may suffer losses, don't you think? But the guard just sneered and didn't listen to what Situlan said. 2 people put him in a fight and walked forward. Come with me to see Captain Xiao first. Captain Xiao. Situlan. Which Captain Xiao? You don't have to worry so much. The guard angrily rebuked and continued to walk forward with a cold face. Situlan said with a bitter smile. Okay, I'll follow you. No talking. Another guard seems to be very angry with Situlan's casual attitude. Gaoxing angrily scolds him. In front of him, a figure suddenly appeared, standing in front of several people, just blocking the sunlight in front of Situlan. Why is it so loud? The quiet voice with the familiar voice line made Situlan feel relaxed, lowered his head and said with a smile. Captain Xiao, long time no see. In front of him, Xiao Ran was still a cold and light look, but in his eyes, there was a touch of surprise. Looking at Situlan in front of him, he said, Who are you? When did I see you? Situlan laughs and looks up at Xiao Ran. Now he has become an adult who can take charge of his own affairs. In front of Xiao Ran, obviously a lot higher. Sure enough, he is a teenager. He hasn't seen him for some time. He has changed so much. His eyes are like stars, his lips are red and his teeth are white. But his face is more resolute, less tender, and his eyes are more firm. At the moment when he saw Situlan, Xiao Ran's eyes were obviously bright. He opened his eyes wide. He was stunned. The corners of his mouth turned up and showed a happy smile. It was a big smile that spread from the corners of his mouth to his eyes, and then to his whole body. The guards around them were shocked. They had never seen such a cold captain with such a bright smile. They were stupefied there, and still pressed Situlan. I don't know, my benefactor is coming. I'm sorry to neglect him. Xiao Ran suddenly bowed and respectfully saluted Situlan. Then he said coldly to the people around him, Don't let go. Several guards were so scared that they turned pale. They quickly let go of Situlan's hand and stepped back 2 steps. They lowered their heads and didn't say a word. Their faces turned red. Situlan looks at Xiao Ran in front of him. The boy's inexplicable hostility to him has disappeared. The intimacy sent out from him increases his favor for Xiao Ran. It's pretty good now. He has become the team leader. The boy, who was almost as tall as Situlan, coughed twice with embarrassment. His handsome appearance made the girls around Wenge Island turn back frequently. Xiao Ran's face turned red gradually. No matter why you come here today, you have to see our island leader. Then we have a good drink, don't you think? Situlan nodded and said with a smile. Who said no? I have to see Song Huanxiang this time. I really have something important to ask her. Xiao Ran picks eyebrow, show a smile of unidentified meaning way. That please. They chatted all the way to the residence of the islander. After a while he came to the door, but Situlan hesitated. Why don't you go in? I'm sure Sister Huanxiang will be very happy to see you. Xiao Ran turned his head and looked at Situlan, but he saw that Situlan shook his head, thought about it and said, I think it's better to talk in the restaurant. No, it's all here. How can you leave? Before the words were heard, a female voice came out of the mansion. All of a sudden, let Situlan heart a tight, an unspeakable complex feelings suddenly rushed to heart. Eyebrows also tight wrinkle up. From magic incense, long time no see. And Song Huanxiang, who was standing in the mansion, was still charming like a flower, twisting his waist and fat buttocks, coming towards this side. Seeing Situlan's instant, he was suddenly stunned. He opened his mouth, his eyes were red, but he still couldn't speak. He was stunned by all kinds of manners, and then bowed his head and sighed. Come in. From the magic incense smile, turned back, did not say a word. Xiao Ran looked at Situlan beside him, and opened the door with a low smile. Looking at the figure from the magic incense, Situlan felt as if he had been separated from the world. He laughed at how he could be so timid in his heart, so he stepped forward and walked towards the room. Entering the room, the furnishings of the room are still the same. No change at all, from the magic incense sitting on the chair, has poured the wine into the cup. Somebody tell the kitchen to make a good dish. I'll treat this. Looking at Situlan's eyes from the magic incense, with a little bit of tears, and with a smile. Great benefactor. The maid answered, told her to go down, and turned to go down. Finally, in the room there were only 3 people sitting around the table. How do you remember coming back? He picked up the glass from the magic incense and raised it to Situlan with a smile. Do you miss me? Situlan had no choice but to smile bitterly. He felt that when he came to Huanxiang, his face was stiff with laughter. Poured down a glass of wine, and put it on the table. After a while, the maids came to the table in a row. Then plates of delicious food had been put on the table. The huge table was full. That's very kind of you. Situlan looked at a large table of dishes, and after a long time he saw Xiao Ran sitting opposite him, although indifferent looking at the dishes on the table, but has been unable to suppress the secretion of saliva, keep swallowing saliva, suddenly, laughing out. From the magic incense also helplessly looking at Xiao Ran said, Eat, eat, eat quickly, but also go out on patrol. Xiao Ran's eyes brightened. Hearing this, he immediately picked up his chopsticks and looked at Situlan and Song Huanxiang. Then he lowered his head and began to eat. He looked up at Situlan with soft light in his eyes. Situlan, what's the matter with you when you come back this time? As soon as he heard that he got to the point so quickly, Situlan suddenly put down his chopsticks and said, I'm here to ask you to do me a favor. Oh. He picked his eyebrows from Huanxiang, looked at Situlan, then lowered his head, shook his glass and listened to the crisp sound of the wine in the glass. What's the matter? Since you've helped me, I'm sure I'll help you. Situlan was very happy, just wanted to speak, but saw from the magic incense waved his hand, interrupted his words, lazy way. Of course, according to one's ability. But no matter what, it's easy to let go from the magic incense side. Situlan was very happy and said, I want you to gather your strength to help us drive out the beast gate. "10,000 Beast Door, hear this name." Xiao Ran and from the magic incense instant changed facial expression, looking at the Situlan in front of, a face of can't believe. You mean you want us to help you to attack 10,000 Beast Door? He nodded heavily. Situlan sighed heavily and drank a mouthful of wine. How do you think this matter can help me? After hearing this, Song Huanxiang suddenly laughed, looked around his house, and then looked at Situlan. Do you think my strength can help you? Nature can. Situlan said, and Xiao Ran touched a glass of wine, drink down, clip 2 dishes. He turned his head from Huanxiang and looked at Xiao Ran. The child was eating delicious food. He didn't put his mind on their words at all. He lowered his head from the magic fragrance, pondered for a moment and said, If so, your kindness to me is not enough to make me take such a risk. Lift an eye, the elegant feelings 10,000 kinds of glanced at Situlan one eye way. Is inferior to, how do you exchange my help with the body? Before he finished speaking, Situlan suddenly pressed the glass on the table and made a bang. He narrowed his eyes, and his eyes were very indifferent. If the island master doesn't help, I won't dissuade him, but I don't think it's so easy for the island master to say that. Sipping his mouth, the last few words still did not say, stood up and walked toward the door. I'm not with you. Xiao Ran lowered his head, eating, but suddenly stopped chopsticks, looked up, looked from the magic incense. That is to say, magic incense elder sister does not agree with this thing? From Huan Xiang lowered his head. The expression on his face was very complicated. His eyes were red, his tears were full, and he choked. Good Situlan, am I so unbearable? As for letting him turn around and leave without leaving a little affection? He gritted his teeth and pinched the wine cup in front of him. He suddenly poured down a glass of wine, and coughed twice. Then he poured another glass of wine and poured it down. Xiaoran, you can go on duty if you have nothing to do. Xiaoran blinked, worried to see from the magic incense in front of, silent for a long time. This just put down the chopsticks, turned to leave. In the room, only one person was left. From the magic fragrant low head. Looking at the cup of wine reflects enchanting beautiful oneself. A burst of loss. After thinking for a long time, he finally raised his head, drank the wine in the glass, sighed and fell on the table. Standing outside the door, Xiaoran quietly listened to the sigh from the magic fragrance in the room, sipped his mouth, frowned and left the mansion. Walking on the street, Situlan is frowning and cold, and is walking forward. Xiaoran followed Situlan, silent and silent. They walked for a long time. Finally, Situlan stopped in front of him. He didn't turn his head, but said coldly, "How come you came to persuade me to go back from the magic incense?" Xiaoran stopped abruptly behind him, opened his eyes, looked at Situlan for a long time and stammered, "Yuan, originally you found me. You've been with me. Everyone has to find you." Situlan turned helplessly, looked at Xiaoran, shrugged his shoulders and said, "Tell me what's the matter? I hear you say you want to attack the Beast Gate?" Xiaoran walked past Situlan and went on. "How confident you are to attack the Beast Gate." He bowed his head and laughed. Situlan, listen, lung for a long time this kid, unexpectedly know 10,000 Beast Gate of affair? Hurried forward, standing beside Xiaoran. "Have you ever touched the Beast Gate?" Xiaoran, with his head down, could not see his expression, but Situlan felt the deep intention of killing from the boy's body. "Not only have I contacted him, but also my biggest enemy." Situlan opens his mouth and thinks about it. Otherwise, why should a teenager follow his parents instead of his own? About his parents, Situlan has never heard of. "Do you mean that your family was given by the people of the Beast Gate?" "That's right." Xiaoran lowered his head, and his whole body began to tremble. His hand holding the sword was already blue. "My tribe was destroyed by the people of the Beast Gate." Finally understand come over. No wonder this youth from magic fragrance to always take in the side, originally unexpectedly is like this. He patted Xiaoran on the shoulder, sighed, turned around, looked at the crowded market in front of him, and said, "I think we have enough ability this time, and we can find enough power to destroy the Beast Gate, but I also want the help of the island owner, but now it seems." The words didn't finish, just a deep sigh. The magic fragrance elder sister is actually very contradictory. Xiaoran raised his head and saw a restaurant in front of him. He turned to Situlan and said, "Why don't we go up and have a drink and talk slowly?" Situlan also agreed, and they walked towards the restaurant with their legs raised. As soon as he entered the room, Situlan couldn't help laughing. "This is my last night and the place where I drank from magic incense." Xiaoran also laughed and called Xiao Er to order 2 pots of good wine and 2 dishes. 2 people sitting in the restaurant, a cup of a drink up. "We all have the same enemy." Xiaoran sighed, suddenly pointed to the restaurant, a bustling, prosperous street. "You don't think we are so harmonious now? In fact, before, we almost died." At that time, it was because our tribe and the alliance of Wingo Island fought against the attack of the Beast Gate, but because our tribe was framed by other tribes, so that our tribe was quietly exterminated. I was still young, hiding under the corpse pile. And finally saved by the team of Wingo Island. Here we are. So the island of Wingo also suffered a lot at that time. Situlan poured a cup of wine for Xiaoran, and he also poured a cup. He touched Xiaoran's cup and poured it down. I'll take you in from the magic fragrance? Her father took me in. I grew up with her, but she is much older than me. Xiaoran bowed his head and laughed. Finally, her father died in the hands of the Beast Gate, and she hated the Beast Gate. Hear Xiaoran say so, Situlan suddenly silence. Yes, if this can still leave room for 10,000 Beast Door, that means this person is also enough heartless. But for the sake of the whole island, she had to choose carefully. Xiaoran said, You know, the Beast Gate for us is how terrible existence. As the sun sets, the whole town is tinged with the afterglow. Everyone has a gentle smile on his face, but the older people all know how painful the city has experienced in the past. I'll stay here for 3 days. If you think about it, please come to me. After 3 days, no matter what the result is, I'll leave. I can't delay too long. Xiaoran nodded and laughed. He turned to look out of the window, but suddenly he was stunned. There was a lot of noise in front of him, and a large group of people gathered in the street. Suddenly, Xiaoran's face changed, picked up the sword on the table, stood up and rushed downstairs. Situlan also stood up and followed Xiaoran downstairs. In front of him, Xiaoran pushes away the crowd and bends down to help the people on the ground up. Situlan rushes into the crowd and looks at the people sitting on the ground. Just before meeting, he sat down on the ground from the magic fragrance and looked up at Situlan with dim tears. It seemed that for a long time, he finally found that Situlan was standing in front of him, and immediately grinned. Situlan, you didn't go, I thought you were gone. Situlan bitterly looks at Songhuan Xiang, and the one in front of him is full of wine. He is shaken by Xiaoran and walks towards Situlan. Before he got to Situlan's side, he suddenly rushed towards Situlan from the magic fragrance. Suddenly, when Xiang was in his arms, for a time, Situlan felt the fragrant and soft body in his arms. For a time, it was a little bitter. Situlan, what do you think I should do? From the magic incense choked, words are not clear. You turn around and go, what should I do? Xiaoran looked at the magic fragrance holding Situlan tightly, pursed his mouth, and could not see what emotion was in his eyes. From the island master, don't do that. Situlan sighed but heard all kinds of pointing around. You see how this man is like this? That's right, that's right. You see, I would have left if I had made other girls cry like this. Oh, isn't it from the island master? Well, don't say it's true. For a moment, the whole crowd suddenly began to boil. Situlan's face was black, so he had to pick up the magic fragrance and walk towards the residence of the island leader. How can you drink so much wine from magic fragrance? Situlan turns to look at Xiaoran. Was she drinking when you left? Xiaoran turned his mouth, lowered his head and sighed. You know, I can't persuade her. If she has to drink, my words don't work at all. You have to come. Situlan smiles bitterly and looks down at the sleeping appearance of Huan Xiang holding his neck with tears. He looks up and speeds up to walk towards the house in front of him. Finally, he put Songhuan Xiang on the bed, but Songhuan Xiang grabbed Situlan's arm and murmured, Don't go, I want to promise you, but I can't help myself, Words have not finished, but has begun to choke up. Brother Situ. Xiaoran, standing on one side, suddenly said, In fact, we really love you very much. But I can't. Situlan lowered her head, gently broke off the hand holding her sleeve, and put her hand into the quilt. Still that sentence, I will leave in 3 days, in which I need a result, so I must tell her when I wake up from the island master. Then he got up to leave. All right. Xiaoran frowned and looked at Situlan's back. He seemed to be angry. Out of the island master's mansion, Situlan finally breathed and patted himself on the chest. Thinking about the appearance of the pear blossom with rain just now, it seemed that he had become a heartbreaker. All the way, I wandered slowly on the road. I was about to find a place to live, but suddenly I heard Xiaoran's voice behind me. Brother Situ. Brother Stuart. Situlan suddenly turned back and looked behind him. but saw Xiao Ran running over excitedly. Before he could breathe, he patted Situ Lan on the shoulder and said, "I'll tell you. Sister Magic Fragrance. Sister Huan Xiang has agreed to support us." "Really?" Situ Lan looked at Xiao Ran in surprise. In a twinkling of an eye, he frowned again. "But are you sure that she is sober now?" "Well, this." Xiao Ran scratched his head and laughed. "I don't know, but she said, let me immediately help her set up a document. She agreed to support the attack on the Beast Gate." Situ Lan felt his chin and thought for a while. Finally, he shook his head and patted Xiao Ran on the shoulder. He said, "No matter what, let's wait until she wakes up in the morning." Xiao Ran nodded solemnly. "I live here." Situ Lan then pointed to the inn beside him and said, "If there is something going on tomorrow, send someone here to find me." After 2 words, they separated. The next morning, Xiao Ran went to Situ Lan's house and knocked on Situ Lan's door. "Brother Situ, Sister Huanxiang, please go to the mansion and sit down." Situ Lan's heart moves, hastily tidies up, and follows Xiao Ran to the residence of the island leader. "As soon as I entered the room, I saw that Song Huanxiang was sitting there, looking at Situ Lan with a smile on his face. But in the line of sight, obviously with estrangement, he stood up from the magic incense, let the seat out, let Situ Lan sit down. Situ Lan was not polite either. He sat down and watched the maid around him drive out from Huanxiang and close the door. Then he turned to see Situ Lan. There were only Xiao Ran, Song Huanxiang and Situ Lan left in the whole room. From the magic incense looked down at the tea, did not speak. 3 people did not speak. After a while of silence, from the magic incense finally raised his head, looked at Situ Lan, with a faint smile, and looked at his face quietly. Seeing that Chuang Xiang didn't speak, Situ Lan didn't know what to say. He just drank the tea in front of him quietly and lowered his head. "What does the island master mean by calling me this time?" From the magic incense crooked head, more smiling, looking at Situ Lan, "That look very beautiful. Situ Lan, why do you appear in front of me?" "It's a fantastic thing," a sudden sentence, let Situ Lan inexplicably looking at from magic incense. Don't understand from magic incense want to say what, but see from magic incense shook his head and sighed. "This is really strange, I would love you so." For a moment, Xiao Ran's face changed. He looked at Situ Lan with a cold face, looked at Song Huanxiang again, sighed deeply and said, "If you have something important to talk about, if you don't, I'll go first." Situ Lan looked at Xiao Ran's indifference. He was amused, but he didn't say anything. He just said, "I heard Xiao Ran say that the island owner agreed to attack the Beast Gate with us?" Said 10,000 Beast Door. Smile from the magic fragrance eyes immediately disappeared. She frowned, looking at Situ Lan, silent for a long time. Kai Shinzhong said, "You said to attack the Beast Gate. How can I believe you? I use so much manpower and material resources, can I get a return?" She looked up, her eyes full of seriousness. "It's not just about you and me, it's about the whole island." As soon as Situ Lan heard this, his expression in his eyes became serious, and he said, "If I say that our team is very strong, you can completely believe me. Will you believe me? That you're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.